Yo, what's up, everyone?
Hello, hello.
How's everyone doing?
No beta yet for Maryland, or I guess the people I know in Maryland.
Yeah, I don't think most people have gotten it yet. So that's kind of normal, I think. Hannah, how are you doing?
Good. Have some work to do. So bored. How about you?
Good. Was just playing with the new version of FSD Beta that came out. I had 6 drives, all of them were zero disengagement. And yeah, just so everybody knows, this room is recorded. It's a new Clubhouse feature they added, so it'll be here on Clubhouse for people to play back, and maybe even on YouTube or something. So, if you don't want to reveal something personal or, say something stupid, uh, just keep that in mind. But, we'll be here to talk about FSD Beta or anything else going on with Tesla. Good day for Tesla today. And yeah, so just anything that you guys want to talk about, starting with the beta or anything else, open discussion.
Ooh, let's talk about how aggressive the cornering is now, how more confident and how human.
Yeah, it was actually kind of scaring me a little bit. But it seems like kind of a step in the right direction for sure. Definitely kind of its turning behavior and the way it kind of waits for traffic and navigates, complex intersections seems to be better. Like there were a couple times where I saw it really drive across a lot of lanes of traffic without any traffic signal to control. And yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I felt as if it was confident changing lanes, passing, but I tell you, when traffic was oncoming, it didn't hesitate. Normally, it would either hesitate or just give up. Now it kind of looked, it waited, and then it just went, and it had some really good acceleration. That was really.
Yeah, definitely. And it didn't do like it's not. It still does little things that are not ideal, like maybe being a little jerky or something like that. But you look at this kind of a rate of improvement, and it makes me very optimistic about where we can be in a year with Dojo and the auto labeling stuff increasing and all these great things that are happening. It's kind of like boiling a lobster where we just get these updates every few weeks. So it's harder to really sense how much things are changing until you kind of zoom back like a year or something and realize, how much changes in a year. And yeah, they've definitely made a lot of progress.
Hey Omar, I had a question about the EV tax credit. Does can you get the credit for as many cars as you want to buy? So if you buy like 3 Teslas, can you get the credit for each one? Or is it one per household?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that off the top of my head. But it would be pretty easy to get around because let's say the limit was 1. Because the tax credit's refundable, you could theoretically even have your kid or something buy one of the cars or something, and then it's a refundable tax credit. So even if they have no tax liability, you'd be able to get the 8,000. So I'm not sure, but I'm not sure anyone's 100% sure. There's going to be a lot of like changes in the next couple weeks. I think they're probably going to get rid of the union thing. So the House passed their version, and now it's going to the Senate. They got to get 50 senators to vote yes on this and to pass it through budget reconciliation. And they've got 50 Democrats. So they need every single one of them to vote yes. And Joe Manchin's going to be kind of the sticking point. He's kind of the most on the fence, and he already killed the clean electricity initiative. He wants to kill the union thing too. And so there's going to be some changes to the bill. We'll see what the version the Senate passes looks like, and then hopefully whatever the Senate passes, the House can pass it as well, and then the president can sign it. So in the next few weeks leading up to Christmas, I think that we'll start to know more of these details for sure. But you'll probably be able to buy as many EVs as you want to buy.
Also, if I could add in, I'm not sure either yet, Omar, but tax law is separate from like budgeting and the actual law need to get passed. So it can change even in the future if it's passed one way, it can change later on as well.
Do we know what the current cap is for the value of the car? Is it 100K or is that a little bit more than that?
It's 55K for sedans, 80K for trucks, and 69K for SUVs or something like that.
Oh, man.
It in the draft. But the income limit's pretty high. It's like 400K
Okay.
or something. So
A
that's good. I think it's like 400K individual or 800K for a family. I'm not sure. Maybe I could be getting this wrong. Do some Googling.
Those are the last numbers that I saw. Do we know if it's gonna go be retroactive for people who didn't get any tax?
It'll be 2022 on, most likely. That's like almost certain.
That'll be great. I'll get it for both.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to as well.
So you guys, not to change the topic, let's talk about the beta. This is betas.
I believe the language is one rebate per vehicle per year, but I'll check on that. And the language for retroactive was been out of the bill for a long time.
So, Brandon, what was your favorite part?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so like, the thing that most impressed me was it reminded me of Autopilot. And like I'm pretty critical about how the beta has always driven, and it drove like Autopilot. Like the car drove straight down the road. The steering wheel was not jumping around, and on turns it wasn't doing the thing where it was like jerking the wheel around. It would just turn. Like if it was a little confused, like it would kind of just slow down a little bit and then just speed up again. Like I'm pretty blown away like how good this build is.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Did you notice it was almost like thinking, and it hesitated maybe a brief, like a millisecond, and then it continued. It had a confidence.
That's exactly what I noticed. It was like I felt like during a turn, instead of it jerking around and being all crazy, like it was turning and it was pausing, kind of like it was trying to figure something out really quick, and then it would just make a decision and go. And
Like a human.
yeah, it was human. It blew
It
me
was
away. Like,
human.
Wait, Lisa, hold on. Is Lisa saying something good? We have to hear this. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
I had 14 disengagements in 3 miles. I'm reserving my judgment till tomorrow, but ... human.
no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had issues. It was braking early on certain stoplights. It missed a turn. Like, it was doing things that it shouldn't have been doing, but it didn't do anything unsafe, and it wasn't jerky. Like that's always been a big thing for me, is like the jerkiness of the car. Like it drives me crazy. Like the jerkiness of the acceleration, the braking, the turning. It's not doing it anymore. Like it accelerates smoothly, it decelerates smoothly. Like I'm really, really honestly.
Yeah, it definitely ironed out a lot of the turns. Like, so before, like you say, that jerkiness, it feels a lot smoother than what it was doing before.
Someone in the other room, and I don't know if they're here, said it missed a left turn, but then it pulled a U-turn for them. It gave them a warning that they needed to take over, but he didn't, and it took the U-turn anyway.
But is it still doing that thing where it turns right to turn left? Or is that fixed
No,
here?
this actually made a
the car made a U-turn.
David, I think
This
you're
is
not
like the
muted.
best
Well,
news
was it a
ever, you
real
guys. This is
U-turn
crazy.
or? I mean, my car's done a U-turn before, but it wasn't like a real U-turn.
Yeah, I mean, it can do U-turns. I've seen this, many months ago. It's not good. Like, it made a very sloppy U-turn, but it actually executed it, and I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. But I suppose that's getting better as well. I mean, I just think it's kind of interesting. Like, it's moments like this where we see improvement that, you really zoom out and think about what's happening here. And it's pretty incredible. Like, I think a lot of people got FSD Beta and they didn't really know what to expect. And they're like, oh my God, uh, driving in this is terrible because of X, Y, or Z things that the software did, and these are so annoying. Like, for example, oh my God, it braked so hard when it didn't need to, or you know it went when it wasn't supposed to, or oh, it went the wrong way. Any kind of number of mistakes it could have, and yeah, like even the slightest mistake is really annoying when you're in a car, and maybe even scary, and maybe even painful and uncomfortable. But you think about it, and the car has a bunch of cameras, and it's driving around so well based on these cameras. It's kind of insane. Like, the fact that it can even just stay in the lane, right? Like, its lane following ability is just like out of this world. It can just figure out, where to go, even in a parking lot. And it can just look at the turn and figure out what angle it needs to take the turn at. And, pedestrians, people getting out of their car, their door is open, it's going around them. Like, at the end of the day, if Tesla can make this software better, and it seems like they are making it better to me, they can just push it out to people's cars, and, every Tesla can unlock this functionality. And that's just mind blowing. Like, Brandon said something. He said it was like Autopilot, and like, I remember I said that as feedback the first day too. I was like, it needs to be more like Autopilot. That was like one of the first emails I sent them. It's like it's like moving around too much in the lane. It's crazy, and like, that's all they really need to do. It doesn't need to be perfect right now. For them to release it, it just needs to be as good as Autopilot is on the highway. That's it. And Autopilot on the highway isn't perfect. We have to disengage there too. But if they can just make it that good, people pay for it for sure. They have a
I tell
business
you,
there.
Omar, I did a human-like activity. There was a bicyclist in a adjacent lane, which was signified as a bicycle lane. What it did, though, since I could not change lanes to get away from the bicyclist, I let it do what it needed to do. And when it approached the bicyclist, it actually moved over about 2 feet, didn't pass the line, but it gave more safety room to the bicyclist. Passed the bicyclist and moved back over. It was so smooth. It was something I would have done as a driver. Just
Yeah, I also had some really good handling of cyclists.
So, speaking of cyclists, I'm doing my first drive on 10.5. This is a 2018 Model X, and I'm driving in the Fremont area. And here within the city, there are some peculiarities that I don't see much in the rest of the Bay Area. Basically, there are dedicated bike lanes, and these are sort of separated by like really thick and really, really reflective bollards. And there was the car was actually getting a little hesitant here and there around curves when these bollards are really reflective. It was handling it pretty pretty good when the car is going straight, but around the curve it was getting a little hesitant. And suddenly I see a little distance away uh, a couple of bikes going in the bike lane, and one of the bikes had this blinking safety light in the back, and the car suddenly I mean, maybe it mistook it for a cop car or flashing emergency lights, and it started to slow down. It's good in a way, but it was a little unsure how to handle all these extremely reflective surfaces. Maybe it'll learn better going forward. But another thing is, it came to a stop traffic light, and it was supposed to take a right turn. And these bike lane changes that Fremont area has done, basically they took out the free right turn lane. So now the cars are supposed to go, sort of into the intersection and make the right. So they took out the dedicated right lane. So my car gracefully did the turn to the right, but suddenly it gave me hands on the wheel warning and popped out a message saying cruise control unavailable for the rest of the drive. I don't know if it by mistake gave me a strike for this kind of
No, it sounds like
autopilot
maybe
strike.
the software just crashed or something.
Yeah, so I basically hit the bug voice command, did the bug report thing, also captured a cam shot. Hopefully, this wouldn't be counted as one of the strikeouts,
No,
but
I don't think so.
I'll keep driving for a little bit. Yeah, and it's doing pretty good compared to 10.4. For me, 10.4 was really hesitant in a
Oh yeah.
vehicle the size of the Model X. Yeah, so far so good. 10.5 looks pretty good and more confident than 10.4. So I'll share more as I drive further.
Sweet, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. I've also noticed some weird things in Fremont when I go to like visit the factory. You'd think you'd work better with all the Teslas there, but maybe the autopilot cameras aren't activated at that stage yet. But I mean, in the case of the bikers you mentioned, it might be that it was just trying to be cautious of the biker. One thing I've noticed is like sometimes it's just being extra careful of pedestrians and bikers. Like it's kind of gotten crazy good at spotting pedestrians from really far away. And sometimes there'll be a pedestrian really far away that it's kind of like already slowing down for or something. So maybe that's what was
Right,
happening there. But
right.
hey, Jenny, did you get 10.5 yet?
No, I don't have it yet. I'm really anxious, though, hearing what you have to say about it, because I have had some of or quite a bit of the braking issues,
Mm-hmm.
and intersections have been difficult for.
Yeah, I had a lot of really annoying braking issues with 10.4 as well. One of the main things seemed to be that the cut-in detector that detects when someone's about to cut from an adjacent lane into your lane was a little bit too hyperactive. And for example, I was driving on the highway and there was like a truck changing from 2 lanes to my right to 1 lane to my right. And it starts slowing down, starts braking on the highway because of this truck, which isn't going into my lane at all. It's just moving, you know, into the lane adjacent to me. And, that was really annoying. So, these kinds of things are really uncomfortable. And that was one of the things they mentioned in the release notes was that they uh, had improved the cut-in detection by 5% or something like that. And that had helped fix some of these unnecessary slowdowns.
My commute is mainly on a 2-lane highway, so it definitely sees the cars coming at me and slows down a lot. Probably in 5-minute period, probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We don't really have a lot of roads like that in like urban California, but when we were driving across the country in Warren's Model 3, we drove through some roads in Texas that were like that. And it did have a couple of like really annoying issues in Texas. One was like on these hilly Texas roads, sometimes it would like get to cresting a hill or something, and it would be unable to like see the road, and it would kind of like slow down. So that was kind of annoying. And then the other really annoying issue was when we were on kind of like those 2 lane highways where cars are passing directly with each other. It would, especially at night, it would slow down a lot when there was a car coming, which was really annoying and unnecessary. And it would also give us a lot of forward collision warnings, which obviously were not needed because they were on the other side of the road. So definitely some work that needs to be done there. I think some of these kinds of road situations that are like less common with, maybe uh, California, or where the Tesla engineers were, where the initial group of testers were, like a lot of kind of, I think, California situations are really covered. And now with the new beta group, they're really adding in a lot of like variety from around the country, I feel like. And I think in like 1 year of the initial beta, with the first couple thousand testers, they really kind of like I saw them fix a lot of issues that I had in my area. And I think the new testers are probably going to see something similar over, the next few months, where some of these situations for their area start to get handled as well.
Autopilot was always so good and really took the car and even seemed to learn the roads all along the way. So it's encouraging to see that they're going to try to make it work a little more like Autopilot did. So I was glad to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing you can also do is, there you can flip the FSD setting on and off. So if there's a road where, for example, it's braking for oncoming traffic or something like that with the beta, then you could go back to normal autopilot for that road, or you could even have a separate driver profile, one with like FSD and one without, that you can switch between. But that's definitely an option, just so everyone knows who's beta testing. If they're encountering something that they don't like, just flip it off. You can go back to normal autopilot anytime you feel like it. You want to go back to the beta, just flip it on again.
I never actually considered that. That's a good point. I'm in Virginia, so our roads are definitely different, and we have a lot of more rural roads, I guess you'd say. And I do experience because I think the cars are just so close on just the 2 lane roads, that I get a lot of in the evening, I get a lot of the shadow braking when we have oncoming vehicles. And I never thought to swap over to just the regular autopilot. That was an excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely help. The regular autopilot is a lot more kind of refined against all the stuff that happens in the real world, because it has so many real users. Whereas, for the beta, we're just testing it. But, you can just kind of maybe give it a try every once in a while. Like maybe there's a new version of FSD Beta, you can give it a try and see if it fixed that issue. And, if not, that's why they kept both of the versions on there.
A good tip is find a route that you can always do that has some situations that are complex, and that's how you can really see the difference in each release and what changed and what didn't change. So pick a 15-20 minute route with some difficult things, easy things, and see how it handles.
Talking about switching profiles, one with FSD and one without FSD Beta, I did set those up for myself, and I was not able to switch back and forth. It required you to be in park to actually turn on some of the FSD Beta capabilities when the FSD Beta profile is selected. So that dynamic change during a drive doesn't seem to be working for me. Has anybody actually?
Well, you just need to enable it on both the profiles. So every profile will default to off. So you need to put the car in park and then go to each profile and enable it. Once you enable it, you can switch back and forth. So, for example, let's say you had a profile without FSD Beta enabled. If you switch to that, then it'll turn the beta off and it'll go to the other version. I think I've done this before. I did this on like our cross country road trip. So It's possible it changed, but I don't think it did. And yeah, then if you exit the highway and you haven't switched back to the beta profile, then you will basically get stuck in normal autopilot and it won't make the turn when you exit. But if you switch to the beta profile before you exit the highway, then when you get off the highway, it will go ahead and switch back into the city streets mode.
I'll have to go try that out. I had another question about lane selection, especially when you have two or more lanes turning in the same direction, and which is followed by, for example, a right turn, two right turn lanes followed by a left turn. In that situation, I've seen that 10.4 at least does not know enough to be on the left lane of the right turn because it has to make a very quick left turn after that. Has that been a sort of observation point for anyone?
Yeah, this is something a lot of people have mentioned, which is that some of its choices for how it decides which lane to go into, like which left turn lane or something like that, seem to be kind of inexplicable and random. So there's definitely some work that could be done here to, for example, make sure that you're in the right lane to make the next turn if it's coming up and stuff like that. And I'm sure they're going to kind of add that control logic in the future, but they just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I noticed my braking was smoother. That was one thing I
Same
noticed
here.
that was good.
Same here. It was totally impressing to me because like that's always been something that's bothered me is the way that it accelerates, the way that it brakes, the way that it turns. Like I'm really sensitive to like the motion of the car, so like the first thing I noticed was like, oh my gosh, it's like autopilot. Like it's just driving like autopilot does on the highway for me. It's staying perfectly in the middle of the lane. It's accelerating smoothly. It's braking smoothly. Now, I do have my driving profile set to chill, so that may be part of why. I'm going to test that tomorrow to see how it drives and like the average and assertive or whatever the other options are. So I'll see tomorrow.
I'm in the default setting right now, and it definitely has that get up and go from 10.3, I think. So it has some of that anxious acceleration out of a turn. I'll see more how it goes in a couple of days. But one thing I'm seeing is that on left turns at traffic lights, it's getting a little uncomfortably close to the curbs. So I would advise everybody to watch a little bit for the next couple of days to be extra cautious and understand if there is really an issue here, or maybe be more cautious not to curb wheels or pop your tires or something like that.
Yeah, that's good advice. Definitely be cautious of your rims and don't think that they can't scrape against the curb because it's happened to many people over the course of the last year. So definitely pay attention to that. I can say for sure, though, that it has gotten much, much, much better over time at keeping space from the curb. So I feel pretty good about the trajectory there. It used to be a lot worse than it is now and a lot scarier in terms of like how close it would get to the curb. So I had to used to have to disengage a lot more for that reason, just being afraid of how close it was. But yeah, that's always good to keep in mind.
The path prediction that you can see on the UI. I've noticed that when you're behind a car at a traffic light, pause, the path prediction becomes like a solid gray line. And as you start to move, there are thicker, bigger dots that then become thinner dots. And so there's a bunch of changes that happen. Do we know what those changes are representing in terms of how the path is being executed?
Yeah, so The gray just means that it's going to travel that path after stopping. And the blue means it's going to travel that path without stopping. Does that make sense? So, yeah, say for example, you're going to a four-way intersection. It would draw the dots blue until the stop sign. Then it would draw what it's going to do after it stops in gray.
And what about the size of the dots?
Well, the size of the dots doesn't really mean anything. It's just kind of like the neural net outputs a series of points that it thinks uh, it's going to travel. So it's really just kind of based on like the speed of the vehicle. Um, they'll pass kind of the camera view into the neural net, and they'll say, okay, based on this, what is the series of wheel angles that need to be executed to create the path forward, right? And then the neural net says, okay, here's how I think you drive down this road based on what I see, the pedestrians, everything. So that's the path prediction. It's kind of like one of the key innovations of FSD Beta.
Some people online in some articles will tell you that each dot is where the car is accelerating. That's not exactly true because the car is accelerating in between those dots also. So yeah, almost right. It just is saying where the car is going.
Yeah, I think it's more of like a visual vector graphic, and it gets smashed when you're near a car, so the lines and the dots shrink, and when it's open, the line's longer and it stretches out. Like it just looks a little different, but it doesn't have anything to do with like the way the car is going to drive differently or not. But I do think they did fix the driver profiles. So like I'm always in chill mode, driving mode's in chill, and my FSD driving mode's in chill, and like I can say it doesn't do that like crazy acceleration. It just eases into the acceleration now, and I love it. Like I'm like really impressed.
But in chill mode, don't you get honked from the back depending on where you live?
I drive a performance model. My car's not that slow.
Well, I wasn't suggesting that your car was slow. I was suggesting that in chill mode, it might take longer to move than what the people around you expect.
No, I don't have that problem. The issue I have is that the car would accelerate so fast. Like, I mean, it would push me back in the seat because it's a performance model. So like, it was too aggressive. Now it drives normal. It drives literally like how I drive. Like it's like they took the way I accelerate and brake and put it in the car. Like I'm happy.
Yeah, that's really great to hear, Brandon. And I think it's so funny that, I mean, one of the first things we heard after the first new batch of people who got 100 on the safety score got the beta was, oh my God, this thing feels so crazy to us because they'd been driving like very slowly to get a high safety score. And
Like
then when it was,
grandma.
yeah, and then once it was time to get the beta, they were like, "Oh my god!" So I think the idea of adding the chill, the normal, and the assertive profile was a really great idea. And different people are going to have different tastes. And in addition, different times call for different things. Like maybe it's night, you're trying to get home, you're not in a rush, you'd rather be in chill mode. And maybe it's rush hour traffic, you're late, you'd rather be in assertive. So I usually have mine on assertive, and I switch between assertive and normal. Like, yeah, it can be kind of like crazy and accelerate really fast, but I kind of like it. Like, I don't know. It's honestly a lot of fun. Like, I've just been kind of mind blown the past few days. I had some great drives with 10.4 and now 10.5, and it's just like, you get in the car, you push the button, and it just drives you there. And it usually works pretty well in my area. So it's kind of like just mind blowing to think about that this is even possible and that we've been using it for a year now.
I can't get over the smoothness. I'm still smiling. I'm still excited because like I mean, you know how bad it was. Like when the night we first got it, it's swerving everywhere. It was swerving everywhere. I mean, I was nearly throwing
Yeah,
up.
it couldn't
And
even drive
now
straight.
the yeah, it could not drive straight. And now it's driving literally straight down the road. It didn't even flinch. Like the lines on the screen are perfectly straight. Like there's no more dancing road edges. Like they're perfectly straight and you can feel it in the car now. I'm so impressed. Like I feel like I got a new car. Like this is really
Yeah, it's
Hey,
always great
Brandon,
to
do you have 10.5 yet?
yeah.
yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, it's always great to get that update and the car just drives better because it's, it's it makes such a big difference. All these little improvements to your comfort and your happiness, and yeah, it just makes us all happy to see. And yeah, I remember that first night, like, and I thought it was amazing then too, because even though it was terrible, because I had never seen a car do this, make turns, all that. So I was still like, oh my God, this is amazing. But looking back on it, it was really hilariously bad compared to what we have. And major kudos to the Autopilot team for all the hard work they've did. They've been working so hard. They probably, like, these are brilliant people. They could have gotten a job anywhere. Um, and they're working really hard on this high pressure job. So, I think this Thanksgiving we should just all be thankful for the Autopilot team. Hey, Alexander, did you get beta 10.5 yet?
Nope. No beta for me. Just drove 6 hours from Arizona.
Marge, how about you? Did you get 10.5?
I did.
How has it been for you?
Um, for the most part, pretty good. I do find it kind of like it's still being a little testy. Um, but I'm trying to pay attention to things like merging and high curvature roads and all those other improvements, like that they listed in the updates. But so far so good. Like merging was pretty good. It had a little bit of phantom braking, but overall, like nothing too wild. Although I do always ask it to like engage right in the parking lot. So when I was at the supercharger in the supercharger like parking lot, but like after you kind of exit out of the stall, I asked it to engage, and then it kind of like, didn't know where it was and kind of did its little like back and forth thing so that I could disengage there. But after that, there was no disengagements.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so for those who don't know, parking lots are not really officially supported. Like, if you're a new beta tester, I wouldn't really recommend turning it on in the parking lot unless you're going to be kind of extra careful, because a lot of times it just doesn't know where to go. So it's just kind of like wandering around the parking lot aimlessly. If it's like kind of fairly simple to figure out how to get out, sometimes it can find its way out and get onto the street. But it's definitely much more rough than how it is on the street. So if you are going to try it in the parking lot, be extra careful. And, if you're new, maybe just start out by not starting in the parking lot. Get in the lane first and then turn it on is probably the best experience for new people. But I remember you were telling me, Marge, that you had some zero disengagement drives last night too, right?
Yeah, it was. I've had a few actually through LA, like long disengage, zero disengagement drives, like up to an hour, hour and a half sometimes, to and from LAX, like to and from even like southern, I don't know, like Long Beach area and back up north, um, close to an hour with zero disengagements in traffic. Um, and that was on 10.4. I haven't done that on 10.5.
That's pretty awesome. Like, to have a Model S Plaid that also has FSD Beta, like, that's literally the most insane car ever created. 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. The yoke, the big screen, like the latest everything, and also the beta.
Zach, did your update come through yet?
It has not, but it does seem like tonight is extremely slow, going along with Elon's tweet, maybe like what,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, that future updates are going to be a lot slower on the rollout.
The funny thing is, I was at the zoo with my niece and nephews, and as I was at the zoo, the update came in, and I remotely just updated all the cars from my phone. So it was really cool. By the time I got out of the zoo, I was back on 10.5.
Looking at Tesla Fly and Tesla Scope, I mean, obviously there's more cars than that, but it looks like there's right now maybe 10 or 15 per state, and then California like 300, so maybe 200 or whatever. But California obviously has a lot more quantity.
Well, California, I think, buys about 50% of the Teslas that are sold in the United States. Last I reviewed the data, that's probably quite a bit out of date now. But, they buy a lot of Teslas. So that's also like, I hear people say a lot like, oh, it only works in California or only works in the Bay Area or something like that. And it's like, it kind of annoys me when people say that because it's not that it is designed to work in the Bay Area or something like that, but there's a lot more Teslas, there's a lot more data being collected. If there's a problem, it's going to get picked up much faster because people are driving the roads in Teslas all the time. So in time, I'm very convinced that like California's a proof of concept. If they can get it working this well for me today, where I did my first 6 drives and 6 out of 6 drives were zero disengagements. I was like, wow. Like, it didn't do everything 100% perfect, but it was zero disengagements for
So,
all
Omar, are
6.
you in the Bay Area right now?
No, I'm in LA. So it used to be like a little worse in LA than it was in the Bay Area. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see. And I mean, like, yeah, that's this is it. Like, you get a sense of what it's going to be like when the software actually works, and you can just say where you want to go and have it take you there. And like, I've been running errands the last few days, and just it gets you there with zero disengagements a lot of the time. And
So even, oh,
it's
I'm
like,
sorry to cut you off, but
no, go ahead, go ahead.
it's funny as you're saying like, oh, it's the people are saying it's for California, it's for California. I'm all the way across the country, right? And I've had plenty of drives that we've had zero disengagements. And I remember the first time that I took my eldest to go get ice cream, and it took us from like, I had to get out of the driveway. But, once we got even just into our neighborhood, I turned it on and it took us flawlessly from our house to the ice cream shop, from the ice cream shop back. And I thought he was just going to pass out. He was so excited.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, thanks so much for joining and sharing that. I mean, yeah, like, this is the thing that people don't understand. Like, it is designed to work everywhere. Like, it's designed, the other guys, Waymo, Cruise, they map out the area. They know every detail. They know every curb down to the inch. They know exactly what angle they have to turn at. What this software is doing is just using a camera, not even a good camera, a shitty flip phone camera. And it's using that, and it's able to look at the world, just look at it and figure out, which way it needs to drive. And theoretically, you can, train it to work anywhere in the world. So we're focused on all these problems now, and yeah, there are a lot of problems, and it's important to share that feedback and help it get better. Like, we're all part of this process, and it's a very serious thing to like actually help this improve and get the software to where it needs to be driverless and be good enough to save a lot of people's lives. But all they really need to do is make the software work better, and they're doing that. They're iterating every couple of weeks. They're sending out a new build, and if they can really pull it off the way I think it looks like they are, they can send this out to millions of Teslas all around the world. And the world will literally change overnight. Like, I think people are a little bit like desensitized to it because we've been talking about it for literally a decade, like, oh my God, autonomy, autonomy. But, you know, it's really happening now. Waymo has a robotaxi service running in Chandler, Arizona. They've been running it for some time. It's not, a complete disaster. Like, people aren't getting killed left and right. That's a huge step. Cruise is now going to launch a service in San Francisco at night. Like, this is moving from science fiction into some practical demonstrations, FSD Beta also being one of them. And this is really something that is going to be happening in the next couple years. Like, maybe not driverless right away, but we're all going to be using this technology. We're going to all have that button in our car that we can hit and get it to try and take us to the destination itself. And maybe we'll have to make a few corrections, but the whole way we use our car is changing forever.
To go off of what Diana said, I live in the DC area as well, and 10.3, 10.4, I have consistent zero disengagement from the middle of Baltimore to the White House. I mean, I maybe an accelerator tap here and there, but zero disengagements. I've had it maybe 10 or 12 times. I've done that drive. So it's not just California.
Yeah,
Did you
driving
tell
that road, that's
Joe, did when you got there, did you tell Joe there's this little car company called Tesla he might like?
He trained the
So all jokes aside, I'm also familiar with that route, and that's phenomenal. If you can get from Baltimore to all the way to the White House, particularly with the interchanges getting into the downtown of DC, right? That's amazing if you did that.
I mean, you guys got to remember too, like, I'm also in California and I used to have like 4 disengagements per block. I mean, it was like really, really bad. And, like yesterday, my car would stop in the middle of the street and it would not turn into my subdivision and turn to where my house is. And this new update went and turned into the street and pulled right up to my house, like in an update. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is mind blowing when you guys think about it. And it's doing it with
And a few other things. Sorry, I just wanted to echo back off of that. It's like two things, right? Impact and also like the environment in which we live in California. I think people forget that there's a lot of people that live in California, and the amount of impact that Tesla can make by changing the lifestyle of which somebody that lives in California could actually um like in a full cycle complete, like, so for like for Tesla it's about solar energy, charging your car from the sun, and then everything else that comes along with it, like full, like the autonomy, everything that comes along with complexity of mapping out the streets. But like and as far as sustainability goes, like California is the perfect place for it as far as the environment, because we're there, and not just California, but there's like in Colorado. I mean, there's places in New York, places that that have a lot of solar throughout the year. So having like demonstrating that it can be done, and it can be done well in California. I think if we can, if Tesla can demonstrate it can be done well here, it can be done well throughout the rest of the world and even the universe.
Yeah, California is not the easiest place to drive. And I think it's such a great point that you bring up about the environment, because this is really so critical from an environmental perspective. If you think about it, when you look at the number of gas cars that are out there, it's like billions of them, right? So even if Tesla's producing 20 million cars a year, how many years is it going to take for them to replace all the gas cars in the world with EVs? It would take 100 years if it was just them. Of course, the rest of the industry will be making EVs too, hopefully. And that's not going to cut it. We don't have 100 years. So what are we going to do, right? Well, we don't even have enough like when you look at the supply chain, the raw material constraints, right? You have to mine raw materials. You have to process those raw materials into battery grade chemicals that can be used in cell production. There's a lot of limits, just ramping up one of these mines. You can't just do it overnight. It takes a long time. So there's really kind of head scratching constraints on how we scale battery production. And this is a potential answer. Okay, maybe we can't build 2 billion cars to replace all the gas cars this decade, but maybe we can build a few tens of millions of cars and people could use them. Maybe they'd keep their F 150 at home a lot of the time, maybe even half the time, if they could get a really cheap, really nice, affordable ride with a great stereo, watch some Netflix and sit in the Tesla and go on their phone, and the car just gives them a ride, right? And this is ubiquitous enough. There's millions of them that anywhere you are, you can request a ride and actually have it come. This is a chance to really reduce emissions and get everyone riding in electric rides faster than anything else that we have, any other options we have. And yeah, it's just pure vision. Like, everyone said they were crazy, right? They were like, oh my God, you need LiDAR. You can't do this with just cameras. Well, the FSD beta build we have seen is certainly not perfect, but it has shown us and convinced a lot of us increasingly with each new build that the vision only approach is going to work. And they're going to be able to make a system that can use just cameras and drive the car. Maybe we can argue about, maybe they need better camera placement, maybe they need better cameras, maybe they need, some kind of hardware upgrade, maybe they even need to add like, something else. But basically, their vision only approach turned out to not be crazy. In time, it's going to work. And that's pretty crazy once you start to think about it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm I'm looking forward to getting 10.5 soon. I'm driving back across Canada or Kansas today, and it's actually doing better tonight than it was coming across Kansas in the daytime. So I'm very happy about that.
Nice. That's
I'm
good to hear.
I'm going to be giving so many people rides in our car at Thanksgiving.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think
Most,
that's going to happen to a lot
yeah.
of people. I think every Tesla owner is about to convert like, 5 family members. And if they have the beta, they're going to blow some minds this Thanksgiving with 10.5. Like, there's going to be some Tesla orders coming in for sure.
And
Omar,
then not to
I
mention with the tax credit coming too. I mean,
Oh
it's going
my
to
God.
increase
It's going to be
sales
crazy. We
immensely.
need Berlin and
It's going to.
Austin. We need them now.
Omar, I sent your tweet about Thanksgiving to my Thanksgiving group chat. Everyone's going to be there, and everyone pretty much was like, "Yeah, that's most likely going to happen."
Hey guys, I figured I'd chime in about the U-turn. So yeah, I was driving and I missed a left turn actually and then rerouted. And normally, as most of you know, like whenever you reroute and have to take a U-turn, you'll either take like 3 left turns or 3 right turns. And this was the first time I think since uh, being on beta that it actually routed a U-turn. And so then I'm like, oh my God, is it about to make this make the U-turn? And it pulls up, it stops, and then a message did pop up that said like unable to complete maneuver, please take over. But then the car continued and it took the U-turn. Um, so like I mean, cool, right? I don't think 10.5 is rolling out and we should all expect it to start making U-turns, but I do think that it's a good sign of the improvements of being able to even see that, and maybe some sort of update in the navigation data to support that. But yeah, thought it was interesting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. And I think there have been a lot of improvements in the routing for sure. Like one of the things they mentioned
What
in the
kind of
release notes is that it misses turns less, which is kind of a problem I had been having. Is like sometimes it would just, miss the turn.
So I'm not gonna lie, my car actually missed a turn, and it went to go get into the turn lane, and then all of a sudden just swerved right back into the straight hand lane, and it just missed the turn. I'm like, that was weird. I've never really had that problem happen to me, and I had it happen tonight. So like, I'm not saying this build is like perfect, but it is way better than what that we were experiencing. Like, it's driving a lot more natural to me, and even the way it recovered was natural. It wasn't like jerky and did anything like crazy. It just like went back to the straight lane, it rerouted, and it took a left hand turn at the next street. So like, I just let it do its thing.
So 6 hours ago, your car has significantly improved for free without
Right.
doing it.
And it's turning into my subdivision into front of my house now. Like, it didn't even do that like at all for months. Like, it literally used to stop on the street outside the subdivision, and now it turned into my street onto these little tiny roads, and it went right in front of my house. Like, crazy.
Yeah, it's so great when there's a problem that's fixed that is a common issue for you. And for people who are new beta testers, if you just keep doing a drive again and again, eventually they'll fix your problem because it'll just pop up enough times. But, one of those that happened for me was I'm at my, in Los Angeles right now because I'm visiting my family for Thanksgiving. And my parents live in this gated community, and the car was actually able to open the gate with the garage door opener, wait for the gate, and then go in. But when it was going out of the gated community, the gate is motion sensitive. So you have to actually get close enough to the gate to get it to open itself. It's not like garage door powered. So what the what the beta used to do before all year that I've had it is it it would like go up to the gate and then like stop for a second, and then you'd push the accelerator to get it to go, a little closer to the gate so the gate would open, and then it would just kind of like charge forward like it's going to drive straight through the gate, and then you'd have to disengage it. So I just kind of like accepted that. I always just disengage it, or drove that part manually and then turned it on after. Well, just now with this update, it finally did not want to drive through the gate anymore. It did the creeping to make turn thing. It creeped around the corner, waited for the gate to open, and then after the gate finished opening, then it drove through it. So, like, we all have our own like personal pet problems that are related to where we live. But it's just really great when one of the issues that you had to deal with really often just disappears.
Omar, you had mentioned about the sensors, the optical sensors. Um, you had retweeted somebody who had 5 cameras replaced, I believe, on their Model X or something like that, and it looked like, well, it wasn't very descriptive because it was the 2 side repeaters, 2 B pillars, and then the triple from the front. So um, it was those 5 camera units. Um, and from my research, they're all the same spec. They're a on semiconductor 1.2 megapixel CMOS sensor that isn't very expensive. Um, so I was wondering, is the 2016 and 2017 S's and X's that needed the upgrade of the camera sensors? Do you know what spec was the older ones?
Yeah, so basically the issue was that The cameras that they put in the early October 2016 to I think it was September 2017 or something. It was like the first 9 to 12 months of production for hardware 2. The cameras were not RGB cameras where it's reading red, green, and blue. It was like red, cyan. It was something else, some other kind of camera thing. And
You couldn't see.
yeah, exactly. Lisa's got it. So the reason they did this was, I don't know. That's what made sense at the time for kind of reading what they wanted to read. I don't know why they made that decision, but all the cameras except the rear view camera were that way, because the rear view camera, of course, you see on the screen, and none of the other cameras you really see on the screen, or at least in that time at the software, there was no way to see them. Now you do have the option to see the side cameras, but so they weren't RGB cameras. And then what happened is essentially with FSD Beta, they probably could have made it work. They probably could have trained it to read traffic lights and all that, but they would have had to do so much more work training for this entirely new type of camera. And the cameras are so cheap, it's like just pop them off and put an RGB camera on there. So it looks like they replaced all the cameras except the rear camera. And it's actually super easy to do. So you've got your rear view mirror, and then there's the 3 front facing cameras right kind of, on top of the rear view mirror. So they kind of pull that out. They put the new 3 cameras there. Then you've got the B pillar cameras. Those just snap right off and they put the new version in there. And then you've got the side repeaters, and they can pull those out and put in new side repeaters. And, it should be a pretty quick upgrade for people. They've already started doing them. So that's good news for people who need that upgrade. And I know some people were like kind of complaining, like, oh my God, now I need this camera upgrade. And, I had to do the safety score and I got a 99. And then I found out my car was incompatible. So, definitely some better communication that could have happened there. But overall, do you see any other car company that is, you know, putting out software today and they're supporting cars from October 2016? Like, there's cars from 2017 to 2021 running FSD Beta right now. And I think that is pretty incredible. Like, managing that variety of hardware for people who are like in software, it's like, oh man, like that just adds a lot of complexity. And the fact that they are going to upgrade these cars and that they're going to run beta and, maybe even potentially like, have access to all these FSD features over time is pretty crazy to think about.
Do you know if they also added interior cameras with this upgrade?
That's a good question. I didn't see the guy mention it. But
The housing is one unit, so I'm assuming they would have, right?
It wasn't on the work order.
Yeah, I don't think they
Jo-
do because Lisa doesn't have one.
Johnny, is your
But Lisa didn't need a camera upgrade, though, right?
Well, because she already has the cameras. So, like, I don't think they're going to add an interior camera.
But since they're replacing with a new housing, that's what I mean. Since they're replacing the new housing, I would just assume it would make sense to add it in. Yes, Lisa doesn't have it, but she didn't need the cameras upgraded, so they wouldn't have replaced her housing, is what I was saying.
I mean, that's a good point. It almost would make sense to do it, but it may also piss people off. Um, regulators might have an opinion about it. I don't know. They're not really forcing the issue right now. It's kind of Tesla implementing this voluntarily. Uh, so, if you have an S and X with the right cameras, you can use FSD Beta and there's no interior camera. So I think those people generally have used Autopilot for a long time and know how to use it carefully, but it would be good to have the interior camera for example, security camera kind of thing in the future. And also for having another view at the rear that's redundant if something happens to the rear view camera. And also for kind of attention aware features, right? So I think, for example, one thing that could be really cool in the future is like FSD, kind of changing its driving based on your awareness. So kind of like, if you look and you check that it's clear, it's kind of registering that as like a signal that, okay, like it looks like it's clear. Or if you're not paying attention, it's not going to do some kind of crazy maneuver. Or if you can see that you are fully paying attention and you are looking where you need to look and all that, then it can go ahead and kind of like, try something a little more crazy because it knows you're paying attention. So like, I think there are some cool ways for them to like use attention and maybe even like hand gestures and stuff like that to kind of like provide a new user interface for the car. But I think the guy would have mentioned it if they had installed it. So I'm going to assume they didn't. And if they want to in the future, again, it's just the same thing, just a quick little upgrade. So that's always possible, but I haven't heard of it yet.
It's amazing again that these cameras are so primitive. They're 1280 by 7, so 1280 by 960, 980. And so like those are like cameras that I don't know. There's like the worst webcams from the early 2000s, I think.
Well, you
They
know,
haven't changed since 2015 or 16, except for the being able to see.
well, they are going to have a new generation of cameras with hardware 4 on the Cybertruck, but it's a little bit counterintuitive when it comes to neural networks. You don't actually want to put too high resolution of an image in there. Actually, when neural nets were first invented, actually neural nets have been around for a very long time as a data structure. Like, in the 70s or something like that, people were first writing about them, but they were never really used that often until lately, until we gathered large data sets with the internet and all that. And when they were first kind of like when Andrei Karpathy was in college, they didn't really believe that neural nets could handle uh, large resolution images. Like if you were doing handwriting recognition or something, what you would do is kind of like use some spatial reasoning, procedural code to kind of clip the digits. And then you would just process a few pixels, like, 10 by 10 pixels or whatever, and try and interpret the digit that was written in there. And people really didn't even believe that you could use neural networks with large images just because kind of, the bigger the resolution is, kind of the computational and complexity of the neural network kind of increases based on the way it kind of models the data. So a lot of times people would actually kind of like downsample the resolution of the sensors to kind of make it easier for the neural network to process and like be really responsive, which is important when you're in a car. So, you know, it's a little bit counterintuitive, but I think it kind of has all the pixels it really needs. Like, I'm not sure that having a high resolution camera would necessarily help it. Like, it really kind of needs the high level features. Like, it needs to know there's a car there. It doesn't need to see like every little watermark on the car. It just needs to see like, okay, there's a car there. So yeah, it's a little bit counterintuitive that like you said, it's kind of like a shitty camera phone camera, but it can drive a car with it. But it's actually kind of helpful when you're trying to process the data and run inference on it, save it to the dash cam, that kind of stuff. So it kind of works out.
Where do the frames per second come into play?
Sorry, what did you say?
Where do the frames per second come into play?
Um, yeah, so you know, it's really important, obviously, to run at a high frames a second when you're running inference. Like, there's a number of tasks, like more than 100 different tasks that are running. Like, for example, where's the lane, where's the traffic light, that kind of thing. And, different tasks run at, different frames per second. You can imagine, like, something like peer vision, you'd want to run it at a pretty high frame rate where you're getting a lot of readings per second. Whereas, other tasks might run at, 12 frames per second or something like that. So, that's definitely one of the really important things is for them is just getting the performance right. And they do a lot of tricks to kind of like simplify the network and then train one network and then train the network on the first network to kind of get it simplified down and compressed to something that can like be evaluated and they can run inference on faster. So, I mean, responsiveness of these neural network tasks is like literally life and death. So, it's pretty hardcore. When you see a lot of these other autonomy projects, there's a lot of constraints they don't have. They don't deal with the constraints of running real hardware, right? Real customers and the real hardware. In the real world, it gets messy, right? There's differences between hardware. People use their cars, they do all kinds of weird things. Having that experience of like real customer hardware is important. And another thing is like actually having to make it perform on real hardware, right? Like Waymo and Cruise and these other guys, they can just throw tons and tons of computers in the trunk and have them suck as much power as they want. Tesla not only has to make the software work, they have to make it work on people's real cars. They have to make it fit within the constraints of the FSD computer and not, overutilize the resources. And on top of that, they have to get it to actual, sufficient performance at on this normal user hardware. So this is some pretty hardcore engineering that they're doing.
Robert, if you're really interested in the technical things behind it, AI Day is a very, very good presentation to watch. It really goes into details with all aspects of what they're doing, not only with FSD, but in general with their AI.
And they have the best soundtrack.
I'll definitely check it out.
Grab a beer, watch the 3 hours. It will be a good time.
I'm jealous. My dad's Model S just got 2020.40 and it has waypoints and title. I was really hoping that they would roll that into 10.5, but they didn't. I guess we're going to have to wait for 10.6.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to the streaming audio. Like, I wanted to hear how it would sound in the car. Like, I was so looking forward to it.
I'm playing with it right now. I'm about to find out. I'm testing waypoints right now, then I'm going to try the title.
Yeah, I want to hear your feedback on it.
Also, the cold weather improvements seemed more significant than the typical just cold weather improvements, which is exciting for us in the cold weather, not you Californians.
For waypoints, are there multiple? So you can set like 3 or 4 or 5 waypoints?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me check. So, okay, let me say my next stop is downtown LA. Okay, so I got 2. Ooh, this is so awesome. Yeah, this is great. This is really great.
Yeah.
Is it going to recalculate superchargers into your new points? Like, if you do a really
Yeah,
long route, will it auto calculate the new super?
yeah, it's calculating the battery on each stop. So I can see right now it's saying like 31, then 23. Then okay, now I'm going to add in a third stop. So let me say maybe you know, yeah, that's a good idea. Sacramento, okay.
Yeah, Omar, when you get a chance, could you try like in Google Maps or Apple Maps doing something multi-step, multi-point, and then see if you can share it with the car and it have the waypoints set up the same way?
Y'all really wanted waypoints.
This is a great it just does everything you'd want. Okay. And then can I? Oh, yeah, I can even add a fourth. Okay. I don't think there's any limit to how many waypoints you can add.
Yeah,
Or
it doesn't seem like there's a limit, but there's no way to edit. Like if you mistakenly put one
yeah,
in the
you
wrong
just got
order,
to
there's
redo
no
the
way
whole
to.
thing.
Yeah, you got to cancel and
You can't like
restart.
Oh, and you know what? You have to you have to enter it backwards because every new, which actually makes sense. So if you add in a stop, it's adding in a stop before your destination. So you gotta enter your trip backwards.
You enter your final destination and then you add
Yeah,
stops along the way.
exactly. So that's what. So like my whole thing is backwards right now because I like typed it in forwards, and now it's just like all these circles around California with it literally driving to like the Bay Area then back, and yeah. So it's actually, this is really cool. It's plotting all the supercharger stops in between.
That's awesome. I mean, it actually makes logical sense. So, say like I want to go down to LA, but I want to stop at In-N-Out Burger maybe twice. I would add a stop for each one of those, and it would just automatically calculate it. So that would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah, this is really great. I'm disappointed this isn't an FSD beta yet, but I can't wait until.
Do title.
Okay, hold on. Let me take a screenshot of this waypoints thing first.
I tell you something else that would be awesome would be to have avoid interstates option.
I wish audio was better.
Did
We
someone
can't hear
turn
you.
off hand raising for the room?
Turn off the hand raising. Looks like it's still open.
Hmm. I saw a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, somebody did it.
I did to try and remove a suspect hand raise.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Yep. I had a question for Omar and the other FSD beta users. I guess, in your opinion, how far away do you think the general rollout for FSD, like timetable or time frame?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I mean, in some ways, the rollout has started, in a sense, where the bravest people who are willing to help test are now opting in, and it's starting to roll out to more and more people. Um, you know, it'll go out and be installed by default on all cars at the point where it is safer than regular autopilot, which is to say that, you know, the probability of a collision per million miles is less. And obviously, at that point, you would want to switch over, right? And until then, they're going to continue to refine it. So I would imagine that it'll happen sometime in 2022 in the United States, and probably progressing to Europe and Asia after that at some point. Canada probably soon after the United States. I mean, this is really anybody's guess, and it's really kind of symbolic more than anything to just say that, okay, well, it's just going to be on everyone's car. Everyone can have access to it now. But um, I mean, the way it's improving, I think that it's looking good for it to just happen sometime in 2022, and the whole safety score request beta button thing will all be out the window. You just buy a car with FSD, and it just has the latest software, and it's good enough for everyone to use. And everything's been documented, everything's been talked about, the regulators have been consulted, and all that. Um, I like the way they're doing it, honestly. There was a lot of kind of concern and discussion all year from the beta testers about how it would be rolled out and when it would be rolled out, because like it can do some crazy things. And I think the small group of beta testers were very prepared for it, and very careful, and nobody ever crashed all year. So, but we were all kind of talking to each other. We all knew what to expect. Um, but there were a lot of people like, this could be bad, right? You think about
Hmm.
that guy Lavish P, right? Sitting in the
Yeah.
back seat, crossing the Bay Bridge. Like, well, if he did that in this, he would crash the car for sure, no doubt. So, you know, there was a lot of risk. So I like the way they did it. Like, this is great. Safety score, just kind of like it's not too hard to get it if you really want it. But the fact of the matter is, most people should not be using it still. It's not ready for everybody, but the way things are going, it's clearly about to surpass the normal autopilot in every way. And at the point where it's like, hey, the chance of a collision is less, then yeah, okay, time to get rid of autopilot and make this autopilot. And even basic autopilot is going to get upgraded to super basic autopilot. Like, not super basic, but super, like, it's going to be FSD beta, but it just drives straight, I think. I think
Gotcha.
that would make sense because it's basically a rewritten code base. So I think they're just going to throw out the old code base, throw it in the trash, and they're just going to make this the thing. And you'll get the car, and every car will have basically FSD beta on it, even if you didn't pay for FSD, and it'll just drive straight. And then if you want to pay for the FSD package, then you unlock the lane changes, the navigation, and all that. But for example, I imagine that the super basic autopilot, or the basic autopilot rewrite, as you might call it, would be able to, for example, go around a stopped car, or if there's a pedestrian, it's going to give them some room, or it's going to give some space for the cyclist. It's going to, if somebody opens their door, it's going to move over for them. Like that kind of basic stuff, basic safety stuff
Hmm.
is going to be in basic autopilot, I'm sure. And there's also going to be some new active safety features like collision avoidance maneuvering. So, yeah, long story short, probably sometime in 2022. But of course, like, we can't know like everything that's going to happen. But that's just kind of what it seems like to me. Does anyone else have an opinion on that? Like, Lisa, do you have a more pessimistic opinion?
Before someone continues, when you say 2022, you speak um, about just FSD, still driver, still everything, not autonomy.
Yeah, just FSD being included in people's cars without having to push the request beta button. People who bought FSD, still supervised, still, you know, driver assistance system, um, but just, increasingly getting better and working towards that driverless state. Like, I think they could probably do maybe like a limited robotaxi deployment, like maybe in one area, speed limited, one area that's really tested, maybe like a closed off resort or something, like inside a boring tunnel. There's some easy things you can do. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it in like, you know, in an optimistic scenario as early as like Q1 2023 even. Um, so, we'll see how it goes. Like, obviously, a lot of people have made a lot of predictions that turned out to be hilariously wrong in hindsight about when autonomy was coming, and it's always turned out to be much harder than anticipated. So it's really a fool's errand trying to guess, but we all get to see it now, right? We don't have to guess. We can actually go in our car and we can see how close they are. So that's a big improvement from before.
Thanks for that answer. I have a quick follow-on to that.
I just wanted to follow up on the avoiding interstate option. In Tennessee, we have a lot of roads that follow the interstate, like highways. And if you take the highways, you end up saving a lot of energy as opposed to going on the interstate. If you're not really pressed for time, it would be a great option.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a nice one to have, especially sometimes when you're trying to like test the FSD beta and not try and get on the highway. They already have the avoid tools, so maybe an avoid highways would be a good option to have as well.
Quick follow on for the robotaxi level 4, level 5.
Hmm.
As we, if we were or a non-driver in that scenario, how do you think the interface, if like the car makes like a wrong decision, will that be like the mobile phone? Would you as like a passenger in the robotaxi, like how would you instruct the car if it's making a mistake? Or
Yeah, that's a great question. So what you're going to see is you're going to see cars get increasingly and increasingly automated. There's basically two step changes that happen in autonomy. Everything else is gradual. The first step change is when you get FSD beta and you get access to the software in a supervised state that lets you give any point on the map and tell your car to drive there, and it'll try and do it. And you can correct any mistake. So that's the first step change from normal autopilot to FSD beta. And then the second step change is when you go from supervised to driverless. So it's basically going to happen kind of gradually over time. We're going to see FSD beta get better and better. And then you're going to see driverless start to be available in more and more scenarios. Like maybe at first it's kind of like a resort, like a closed private, closed off road where they start offering some kind of shuttle that's like driverless. And then, Cruise has a permit that allows them to operate from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. in San Francisco. So 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., there's a lot less traffic, a lot less people in San Francisco. It's a lot easier for an autonomous car to drive. So that's one thing you might see is first it becomes legal, late at night. So maybe you can't use driverless during the day, but if you need to rent your car out and have it come back to you at night, you can do that. And that'll be pretty convenient. And then, another thing might be, okay, at first these driverless cars could try and follow somebody. So maybe there's another Tesla that's actually being supervised by a human, and there's this driverless Tesla. It's going the same way. It can kind of tag along or go in like a, boring tunnel or something where it's only autonomous cars and environment like that where it's only autonomous cars and the tunnel's designed specifically for it. So I think you're going to see kind of like a lot of these things start to happen in kind of a way that we're not really sure, where gradually your car is just getting driverless more and more. So maybe it's like, okay, at first on the highways, now you can take your hands off. Okay, maybe now on the highways, you're actually allowed to, go to sleep, and then it'll wake you up when you're on the city streets, and then you need to pay attention on the city streets or something like that. So I'm not really sure how it'll happen, but it'll happen step by step. And you're already starting to see some of these features. Like, for example, we have this live sentry mode feature on our car now. And that same exact live sentry mode feature that we use to watch our car when it's parked is going to allow us to also check on our car while it's driving itself driverlessly. And that's going to be really important. And we'll be able to, use the speaker or whatever, put on the hazard lights, send simple commands, check the visualization, do stuff like that. We'll be able to monitor the car remotely and uh, kind of drive it over the internet, right? So it can do most of the driving. It'll have to be able to pick out those weird scenarios and know kind of like how to get itself out of the way and be pretty good about that. But we can also kind of remote control it as well, and I'm sure it'll also give us some notifications. In addition to that, like Tesla's going to have a kind of command center, and they're going to take 25 to 30% of all the robotaxi revenue. So what they're going to do is they're going to invest that money into maintaining the network and hiring people, obviously investing in the development, but also having some level of staff that is going to be able to, it's not like one guy driving one car, but maybe, one guy monitoring hundreds or thousands of cars. And for example, if a robotaxi detects a fault situation, like let's say there's a big, hole in the road or something like that, and it doesn't know what to do, it could phone home and ask for advice. And the human could then confirm whether, its plan makes sense, or give it a new command, or do whatever. And this will allow us to kind of like work around the limitation. So, in a sense, the human driver's never really going away, but it's just the human involvement's just getting less and less and less over time. And it's going to happen gradually over the years to the point where, then it's just completely driverless. There's not going to be any moment where it's just like, overnight, but the software is just going to keep getting better and better and be automated in more and more scenarios. And that's kind of how I expect it to roll out. But again, like, we have no idea. It's all kind of speculation, but based on what we've seen from kind of Tesla's iterative approach, that's how I expect them to kind of do it.
So your second point was kind of
So,
akin
so
to
if I
um,
have So I have the 2019, and then I was like, well, I'll probably, trade it in when the Cybertruck comes. But if they're closer to Robotaxi, then, or to the fleet, closer to that, by then, I'll have two vehicles to put into the fleet, and I won't sell my Model 3, and then I'll have a good income for retirement to add to my retirement, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of kind of ifs. eh, There's a lot of kind of variables here at play for them to actually pull something like that off. But what you've described is like exactly how it would work. And yeah, you could, in theory, keep a car that you would have otherwise had to sell, because now, instead of being a liability, instead of being an expense, this is actually an income producing asset. And Tesla threw out a ballpark of like, maybe $30,000 after you subtract all the expenses of running the car. Like, you're going to need to clean it, you're going to need to, you know change the tires, do that kind of thing. You could potentially make $30,000 to $60,000 a year off a car, theoretically. These are just kind of the numbers they threw out. um so yeah, that could potentially allow you to keep the car. And maybe you send it out to get lunch for yourself, you go pick up some lunch for your neighbors, you run some service, or you know, create some business idea that's powered by this robo taxi. And, you know, then help other people, try an electric car. They end up buying one too. So yeah, I think by the time Cybertruck comes out, FSD is going to be very, very mature. Like, it's going to be very, very good by the time Cybertruck comes. And with Cybertruck's hardware 4, it's going to be obviously an upgrade in those respects as well. So, I'm excited to see what the FSD situation actually looks like when the Cybertruck comes. But it's probably going to be pretty good. And Tesla may even enable some kind of like car sharing features before full autonomy. So we'll see how that works. But I definitely expect that when the Cybertruck ships, you won't be pressing request FSD beta. You are just going to buy the Cybertruck with FSD, and it's going to have FSD on it. It'll be shipped, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was like pretty close to driverless in some areas.
has anyone made the trip to Austin to see the Gigafactory?
Oh my god, yeah, it's amazing. It's huge. It's going to change everything for like Tesla customers in North America. It's like, oh my god. It's Yeah, it's going to change the entire American car market. They're clearly planning to just produce a massive number of, like, I don't know what they're planning here. Like, seriously, if you're anywhere near Austin, just go and take a look at it. Take a look at the size of it, and it will make you bullish. I mean, even go to Fremont. Just looking at Fremont makes me bullish too. It's pretty incredible, like, the level of mass production of EVs that they've pulled off.
Yeah, I'm
Y'all
very
gonna
excited.
do a festival like in Berlin?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they
hopefully.
are going to do one.
About when would that be?
In the new year.
Yeah, it'll probably be in a few months. You know, you never really know. Um, with with Tesla, you know, it could be in the middle of next year or something like that. But they're gonna do one, you know, when the factory's ready. Like right now, they're still doing construction, so we can't really have a party there. When they've got something to show us, then it's time for the party.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think it's gonna be a great party. It's always great when everyone from the internet can get together.
Omar, you said you're planning on going to see the Falcon 9 launch 24 hours from now?
Yeah, who else is gonna go? I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Like I've never seen a SpaceX launch. Amazingly, I mean, you know, I'm not usually in Florida. Most of the launches are in Florida, but they do some launches from Vandenberg, of course. So I've never been to one before, and I've been meaning to go. Um, it'd be cool to see the rocket take off, and even cooler to see it land. And this mission is also a really cool mission. This is their asteroid deflection mission, which is like, you know, SpaceX got paid $69 million to come up with this system that deflects an asteroid if there's, you know, an asteroid coming from the Earth or something, which is pretty badass. I mean, so it's gonna be a cool one to see. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go check it out and drive down there. It's at like 10 o'clock, so you know, just drive after dinner or whatever and try and find where everyone is and watch the rocket launch.
The fact that we're at this point in history that we're building rockets to protect Earth from asteroids, it, that will never sink in.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like autonomous, you know. It has to be driven by software. No human could drive it. So that's really interesting too when you think about like Tesla and electric cars and FSD. And then on the other hand, SpaceX building these kind of, you know, autonomous space travel vehicles for people.
The flip side is the Russians blasting a satellite last week, making 1,500 pieces of debris headed near the ISS.
Also creating space junk.
Can't fix stupid.
Has there been any concrete timetables for the Cybertruck of any updates of? Is it just tentatively 2022 sometime?
Um, yeah, it's gonna be probably Q4, maybe Q3 if we're lucky, but probably Q4 of 2022. That's what it's looking like right now.
Do you think they'll have to address the backlog of threes and Ys first in Giga Texas first, or?
Well, I think they're only planning to make Y. They are going to start making Ys first. So after you start seeing Ys being delivered from Giga Texas, that's a pretty good sign that we're getting closer to the Cybertruck. So they've said that the Cybertruck's going to be produced subsequent to the Model Y. You know, we might see Model Ys come out of Giga Texas, you know, maybe in Q1 or maybe even a few pre-production units in this quarter. But yeah, then the Cybertruck would be sometime after that, obviously. Uh, there's a lot of new technology in there in terms of kind of the exoskeleton. Whereas the Model Y, they kind of already know how to make. So once they're ready to make cars, the Model Y will be easier to get up and running. They are doing a lot of work on the Cybertruck. I've seen the latest picture of the Cybertruck. They've been doing a lot of kind of work to make it, you know, into a final vehicle. It has side mirrors now that are removable. They're kind of like tall rather than wide. It looks, I think it looks good overall. Kind of some of the strange, unsightly angles of the truck seem to be kind of have like designed better, so it looks better from like the back, for example. And yeah, I think people are gonna like it. It's very much true to what it was unveiled as. Um, and yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I mean, it's really hard to produce vehicles right now and ramp up. Like, there's a lot of supply chain shit shows and a lot of backlogs. The 4680 battery packs also have not been in any production vehicles yet, so that's also needed for the Cybertruck. And then, of course, there's the exoskeleton and the lack of paint job. There's a lot of like kind of new tech here, so we'll see. But that's the target right now, is the end of 2022. So really, when you're going to see a lot of people getting their Cybertrucks and like tons and tons of Cybertrucks produced is like 2023, is when probably most people get their orders filled.
Gotcha. Uh, One general question outside of, I guess, Tesla, is anybody bullish on any other EVs, other companies or cars?
I believe the current ones available don't really have a direct competition with Tesla. You have Lucid, who's high-end sedans, and you have Rivian, which is utility trucks. Cybertruck is not really built, in my opinion, not really built. If I'm a contractor, if I'm a daily truck user, I'd much prefer the Rivian's utility over the Cybertruck's utility.
That's an interesting take. Is that just because it's a traditional looking truck, or?
Looks excluded. I mean, I don't know the final version of the Cybertruck. I don't know if there'll be more, but as unveiled, I believe I don't use a truck. I'm getting Cybertruck because it looks cool and it's Tesla and I love Tesla and all those reasons. But if I was a truck user, like most of my friends who use trucks as a daily driver and use it as a truck, I feel like they would choose a Rivian over a Tesla.
Yeah, I know the Rivian has a pretty small bed, so that's why I kind of asked you that question. But
yeah, I think that may be true of like an F-150 electric, but a Rivian, I'm not sure. Like, I own like a Nissan truck, and I don't think I'd buy a Rivian for its utility. It is an interesting camping kind of truck, and it's nice that way. But I think the Cybertruck's going to be much more useful and practical for a lot of things, beyond it looking weird.
Yeah, I think the Cybertruck is going to surprise a lot of people because, I mean, Rivian, I think, really knocked it out of the park with their product. It looks great, but the issues with Rivian are, number one, it's a little bit smaller than a full size pickup. So, for example, if you're doing construction or something like that, that involves you hauling a lot of stuff, you might not want a smaller truck. You might actually be like, I actually need, more room. I actually have all this stuff and I don't want a smaller bed and a smaller truck and, you know, the battery that goes along with it and all that. Um, the other issue with Rivian is they're only going to produce about 50,000 units in the next 2 years, according to their production forecast. So that's like if everything goes right. And right now in the industry, everything is going wrong. Okay. So like no one, like even GM and Ford, they can't even produce a car. Okay. These guys have been making cars for 100 years. They can't even make one car like their most profitable SUV. They can't make it. They don't have the parts. So, I think things are going to get better, hopefully, in terms of the supply chain. But yeah, it's tough. And if everything goes right, they're saying they're going to produce 50,000 units. Okay, well, you know, 50,000 units is like a rounding error for Tesla. They're producing like at a rate of over 1 million cars a year now, right? So that's like 5% of their production. So if every single Rivian buyer, stole like a buyer from Tesla, like it wouldn't even make a dent because they're just not going to produce that many units. And, same thing with Ford. They just doubled their production targets, but the Lightning production is not very ambitious, and these trucks need a lot of really big batteries. So it's that's kind of, I think, going to be the dominant constraint, especially with the tax credit coming in, is just like production, right? Like all of these guys are going to sell all their trucks. Rivian, they're already sold out for 2 years, right? They've already got 52,000 reservations. And it's going to take them 2 years to do those 52,000, they said. And then on top of that, they've got to make all these vans for fucking Bezos, who bought 20% of the company. They got to do whatever he says. If Bezos says jump, they go, how high, sir? And they're going to have to make those vans first. They're going to prioritize the batteries for the vans. And the truck reservation holders are going to have to wait. So I think the Cybertruck's going to surprise a lot of people because when they see it, yeah, it looks kind of weird from the photos, but you the angle you see it in the photos is actually all wrong because like it's usually photographed from above, but when you see it, you actually see it from the ground, right? And so you're actually like looking up at this big massive like tank, and you're like, okay, that looks kind of cool. And you get into this like big spacious interior. It's got 6 seats. It's like all glass. You can see everything around you. The windshield goes over your head like a Model X, and you've got these big windows. It's just like beautiful interior, and totally a place where you want to be. And of course, it's got like FSD, which is going to be very, very good by the time the Cybertruck comes out. So like when people see that, they're going to be like, "Oh my god, this is like the kind of truck I need." And it even is going to have features like autonomous trailer docking and undocking, which will be super cool, kind of truck related features. And then of course everything about the Tesla, the supercharger network, the 4680 cells, the 500-mile range. Um, you may like a F-150 Lightning or a Rivian, but when the Cybertruck's got 500 miles and can drive itself, okay, it may look, not like the truck you were imagining like a truck would look like, but the design is very utilitarian. It's not just weird for the sake of being weird. It's weird because they wanted to make it a really good truck. And you think about it and you're like, wait a minute, if my truck is autonomous, of course I would want a lockable bed, right? Of course I would, because otherwise people are just going to take shit out of it. So you start to actually see what this kind of truck of the future looks like, and you're like, yeah, this design actually makes a lot of sense. And you can send this thing out as a robo taxi. Some kid throws a rock at it, or somebody falls out of a window and lands on your Cybertruck. Whatever crazy stuff happens while you're sending this thing out robo taxiing, it's gonna stay tough. The paint's not gonna get messed up. It's really the perfect robo taxi in a lot of ways, especially when you consider the power outlets in the back. You'll be able to plug in like all kinds of stuff and kind of build all these products and services based on the Cybertruck, I think.
I think you paint a better picture of the Cybertruck than I've been able to imagine, and it sounds more functional. I wanted to say that Legacy Auto has a habit of worrying about their old products when they make new ones. So I think that Ford, even though the Lightning might be a great vehicle, they sell 800,000 F-150s a year. What happens if they eat into that market and they cannibalize their own market instead of attracting new buyers? So they're always looking over their shoulder with new vehicles. What are we doing? How do we keep the old ones saleable? And I think it handcuffs them.
Yeah, that's an
Somebody
excellent point.
mentioned power outlets. Do we think there may be a chance that we will get vehicle to grid on the Cybertruck, just like the F-150 has advertised? That's one thing my non-Tesla buddies keep saying would be really awesome to have for backup. And it seems like they could really do it with a Cybertruck if they're already going to have an inverter for the power outlets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, starting with the new Model Y 2.0 coming out of Berlin and Austin, all the Teslas are going to have power electronics for output as well as input. So it I think they almost like they're definitely going to have a power out feature. Um, in terms of like a emergency home backup, I wouldn't be surprised to see them add it too. Elon did mention at Battery Day that it could be added with just a software update, right? Something to kind of like do your home. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them do some kind of integration with Powerwall or something like that. Tesla's developed a lot of really interesting technology around their virtual power plant. And what it basically does is it allows all of the power walls in a neighborhood or, in a city even to act as like a distributed megapack. And they're controlled and synchronized over the internet to charge and discharge at the right times to balance the grid. And Tesla's launched this in Australia and California and a bunch of places. And in some places, you even get paid for letting the grid borrow your battery to help stabilize it. So, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could do this with cars as well? And we could actually charge up with renewable energy from, the sun and the wind when it's being produced during the day. And we can store that energy in our power walls. We can store that energy in our car batteries and in our mega packs and all these batteries we have. And then when the sun goes down or the wind doesn't blow, we don't have to burn fossil fuels because we actually have renewable energy stored. And we don't have to invest a ton of money into building battery capacity to back up the solar. We can actually invest less in building a mega pack because we're going to have all this distributed capacity from everyone's EVs and everyone's power walls in their home. So essentially, every EV has like kind of a demand for renewable energy, but it's also, maybe providing a little bit of supply by sharing its battery with the grid. And as we get into kind of like the 4680 structural pack, the LFP, kind of the million-mile battery pack standard, right? Every part of the car built for 1,000,000 miles, including the battery pack. Well, you're not going to drive 1,000,000 miles in your car. So when degradation isn't really an issue, then these kinds of things start to become a lot more feasible, where maybe you want to use part of your car battery and actually make money trading energy on the grid with like Autobidder and the virtual power plant. So I think we're going to see some really interesting kind of stuff from Tesla here. And you can bet if Ford is doing it, Tesla's going to do it just to not let Ford have any kind of, competitive advantage. Like, people really liked the idea. I think the reality is it's not really as good of an idea as it seems. Like, to actually use that feature on the Ford F-150 Lightning, you have to like get all this complicated electrical wiring in your home. You need to get a special charger, and it's like over $1,000, and you got to get an electrician to install it, and it's a little bit complicated. Maybe Tesla could actually get something a little simpler if they like figured out how to hook the car up to a power wall or something. But um, yeah, people are not actually going to use this, the home backup feature that much, but definitely like power out from the batteries is something that's going to be there, no doubt, on Model Y and Cybertruck. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of home backup functionality as well, just to kind of like check that box. If your power's out and you don't have a power wall, you could use your car to back it up temporarily.
Tesla's been doing BMS and battery degradation and all of this battery related longevity for how many years now? And now you bring in a lot more use of the battery pack, so it's going to degrade it more. And once we get to a point where that isn't an issue, I feel like we see Tesla do it. But I'm really interested to see Ford getting brand new into the EV market and batteries and how they're going to handle and the impact of, say, using home charging, home backup every night or once a month or something. What are we going to see their batteries have an effect on? So that will be very interesting, and I do agree it won't be as used as much. It's like Summon. A lot of people don't use Summon every day. It's to show it off. I feel like the home battery backup will be a show off feature, not an actually daily use feature.
Yeah, totally. That's a great point. And um, yeah, it's kind of a nice thing to say about like, oh, I have an EV, it can function as a battery backup. And I agree on smart summing too. I used it today in like this Best Buy parking lot. and it's pretty much useless as like an actual convenience, but it does always get people's heads turning, and that's kind of the entertaining part. Like, there was this one guy who was like walking by the car when it was pulling out, and just like seeing his face and seeing him like watch the car pull out was like the most entertaining thing.
The problem with Smart Summon is every time I try to use it, is like there's a 1 out of 3, maybe 2 out of 3 chance that I'm going to be embarrassed by it. Right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm just going to have to go run
Oh
in the
yeah.
middle of the parking lot and get in my car.
Yep, that's always me running and like apologizing when I use it. But yeah, I think the new version powered by FSD Beta is going
Oh
to be a
yeah.
lot better in version 11, because if you
Well, because
actually try
even
FSD
now
Beta,
it can navigate. It can navigate pretty well with FSD
yeah,
Beta on the parking lot,
exactly.
as long as it's a normal parking lot. So yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So with Beta 11, they're moving to a single stack. So FSD Beta goes to the highways and to Smart Summon. So yeah, for people who've used Beta, it's able to do a lot better in the parking lots than Smart Summon is. So once that's stable enough to actually be used for the Smart Summon feature, oh my god, that's actually going to be fun. Where Smart Summon can actually do everything Beta can and handle
Oh,
people and handle stop. Like Smart Summon just drives straight through stop signs right now. Like it has no care in the world. Like this will actually kind of do things the right way.
no, I mean, Smart Summon, it hasn't been worked on since it came out, essentially,
No, no,
right?
yeah,
So, and if you look at even the AI Day presentation, where they actually focused on the path planning in the parking lots, and you could see what they've got up their sleeve, right? So, I'm pretty sure as soon as they go to the consolidated stack or the 11, it will be nearly flawless on a parking lot. It just from looking at their AI presentation, just seeing how well FSD is doing in parking lots.
I think if they can give Smart Summon the same treatment that they gave the new vision-based auto park, I will be a happy man, because literally that has never failed. Like going from using the previous version for 3 years where it like never works and it would only find a parking spot like when I'm on the highway in bumper to bumper traffic, to identifying every single parking spot when I'm parking with the new vision. It's incredible. Like I just love using that, and I can't wait to see what they do with Smart Summon.
I wonder
When
if they're going to be able to pull in instead of having to back up into a parking. It seems like they should be able to do that
yeah, definitely.
with a front
They're
camera.
definitely they're definitely going to have the pull in as well. I think it's actually related. The new auto park. I think they're getting ready for the new version of Smart Summon, which is going to be based on the rewrite and much much better, obviously. But I think it's also going to support the reverse summon. So in addition to being able to call your car out of a parking spot, you'll also be able to just get out at the front of the store and have your car go find a spot and go park itself. So that's going to be kind of a crazy one.
And it also won't matter where it parks because you'll just have it come get you. So at first they can have it only reverse summon to 3 open spots. So they
Exactly.
have a lot of ways they can implement it.
Can we touch on pricing? So, do you think they'll honor reservation holders of the Cybertruck from 2019 pricing?
I think what they're going to do is they're going to start with the most expensive variant. So they're going to try and convince you to like upgrade and get the $70,000 one because they're producing those first. Like in the past, they always have honored the pricing, and I think the Cybertruck reservation page was pretty clear that they said pretty point blank, we're going to honor the FSD pricing. If you pick FSD, you're locking in that price of FSD at 7,000 or whatever it was at when you did your reservation. And so I think definitely that's going to be honored. And when it comes to like the Model 3, for example, and like, $35,000, that kind of thing, they always did honor it. Even like for the Model 3, it was really only for a short time. And then they moved it off the menu. But, they don't flake on those commitments. And I think that's why they removed the pricing, is they said, shit, we we shouldn't be making promises to people because like we've got a lot of reservations now that have locked in these prices, and at some point it just ends up being a big giveaway, right? Um, so I think that's kind of why they took the prices down. Is like, look, if you're making a reservation now, we're not making any promises. We don't know what the world's going to look like then, but I think you will be able to honor your reservation price. Hopefully, like I think hopefully they'll stick to their word. But they're going to try some tricks to get you to just like there's going to be a lot of new options and stuff, and the final kind of configuration you can do is going to be a lot more complicated than what was on the pre-order screen. There's going to be a lot of kind of options and different things, different interior colors you want. And okay, now I'm adding 1,500 for white seats. Okay, maybe I'm adding $1,000 to get a wrap on it, or this or that. Okay, maybe I'm adding the camping kitchen, or maybe I'm adding the trailer accessory, or like all this stuff, or I want this version, and then you end up paying probably something different than what you reserved. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like what I expect is probably it's like, okay, base price 50,000 plus X, Y, and Z that you bought, and then here's your final price. But theoretically, it should be possible to just get a bare, base price and just go with that. And usually they make sure those cars are very well equipped, even if you don't, buy anything extra. It's got everything on it.
Yeah, when you factor in the tax credit, it's hard to believe that they'll keep the 2019 pricing, in my opinion.
Well, they're not under any obligation to keep the pricing for sure, but I think they will honor it. And a big part of why I think that is just that battery costs are going to continue to go down, and all the pricing of these EV components is just going to continue to go down over time. I think people have kind of forgotten the general trend that's happening because for 2021, prices have been going up. So it just seems like prices just keep going up and up and up. But really, prices are about to go down a lot with the EV tax credit in a way, in the sense that, the government's going to cover part of it. And the trend of battery costs and other costs declining is going to continue. So we are going to see cheaper and cheaper EVs over time, and we're going to see EVs fall below the cost of a new polluting car. So I don't think we really have to worry about a situation where prices just keep going up and up forever. Like Elon has said himself, like the long-term goal is to reduce prices and make it more and more affordable. And I think especially with the way FSD is progressing, I mean, it has the chance to completely flip the value equation of like what it even means to get a car. And you could potentially have many cars and have it be much, much more affordable than it ever could have been because of some of these autonomy features that are coming down the pipeline. So maybe that like you can actually get one for less than 40,000 when you factor in things like that and the tax credit. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I don't think a lot of people are going to get a Cybertruck and pay, 32,000, but I bet you at least one guy will, or a few people who just get the bare Cybertruck and take the tax credit, whatever. Probably someone could get one for like 30,000 or less with state incentives, I imagine. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. And there's a lot of things up in the air. Tesla may not even 100% know themselves right now with the way everything's going. It depends a lot on what the world looks like when the Cybertruck comes out. Like, I think they'll definitely want to honor the reservation pricing if they can. The only reason they wouldn't is like if something, if prices were just way out of whack on costs with what it was. But I'm optimistic. I think they'll get back to normal and actually get their prices below where they were at the lowest point. We're going to see the $25,000 car. We're going to see, Model Y get back to, Model 3 get back to 35,000, and maybe even below that over time. That's what I
Yeah, I
believe.
mean, even right now, I mean, just based on how much their unit margins are, right? They could afford to lower 10, 15, 20 grand on a car and still be profitable, right? I mean, if they weren't supply constrained, they could easily do that. I don't think they should, because, they should take that money and help, their investment in their research and their future stuff. But I mean, if you think about like VW or any of these other competitors right now, I don't know what their margins are, but I'm pretty sure they're very thin margins, right? So if Tesla wanted to compete massively, right, if they actually had the supply, which is about to come online with Austin and Berlin, they have a huge margin to play with in order, they could lower the price significantly overnight and still be profitable. So I think
Yeah,
even
that's about
without any
it.
future battery going out, even right now, if they weren't supply constrained, we would have cheaper. And, I think that's also another reason why they should be able to honor the Cybertruck price. Obviously, the Cybertruck margins are not going to be massive when it first starts production, but just from the margins on the Model Y, Model 3, S, and X, even if they're going to take a bit of a loss early on so they could honor the prices, I think they would. I mean, they have in the past. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. I think the first Cybertruck at 70,000 is, not cheap. I think they have the margin to offer a 500-mile Cybertruck at 70,000 if, kind of their battery technology pans out. So it shouldn't be too hard as long as they start with the most expensive version and only offer that first and then work down, which is what they usually do. Then I think they'll be fine. And then, you bring up another good point, which is like right now, most of the margin is kind of in the vehicle hardware, right? They have to price the margin into that. What a lot of analysts have speculated, and what I also kind of believe, is if Tesla starts making recurring revenue from the user base, like for example, your users are paying for premium connectivity for $10 and they're paying for FSD for $200 and maybe they're paying for insurance and a number of different kind of things that they're paying Tesla for. Maybe they're paying Tesla like to use FSD on a per mile or per ride basis even. Well, as the kind of recurring revenue from the fleet increases, you could offer the cars at lower and lower margins or even zero margin or even negative margin theoretically. And this might actually be an optimal business strategy if you had enough production, because then you would maximize the recurring revenue just by getting like as many users as possible. Like if you think about every robotaxi making kind of 30,000 in gross profit a year, and then Tesla being entitled to 30%, so it's like kind of $10,000 per year per vehicle. So every kind of vehicle is like six-figure income for them. So at that point, it's like, yeah, why not sell it for as little as we can? So that's one thing we could see in the future happen. Um, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen anytime soon. It could be something that happens long term, but definitely battery cost declines and other stuff are going to help in the meantime. But yeah, long term, there's like long term EV affordability is just getting better and better. And this year has just been kind of a weird year, like a lot of crazy stuff happened with the pandemic. And that's really why we are where we are today. But hopefully it doesn't end up being a long term trend. And I think the Fed and everybody's focused on making sure that inflation remains under control. So hopefully that's how it plays out.
Hey guys, before I go, I wanted to just say I've had 10.4 for like 5 days or something, and I've been starting to bring some people out, and it's really like I'm a total nerd. I watch Dirty Tesla. I watch all these guys, who have had it for a long time. But when I bring somebody out and they get to see it firsthand, the excitement is so awesome and just fun, really fun. I took someone out yesterday, and they took a right turn on red, and they just were amazed by that little thing, which really isn't little, but it's little in comparison to the whole thing that it can do. And we had some zero disengagement drives, and it was just awesome. And I just think the excitement's great, and I'm excited to get 10.5. And yeah, so thanks for sharing everything.
To go
Speaking of
off that,
which,
Lincoln. Oh, sorry. Go, Daniel.
no, sorry. Go ahead.
To go off that, Lincoln, I've given rides to however many people, and I probably have like a 45% order when they order a vehicle when we stop the test drive.
Yeah,
Like almost half the people I've taken for a drive, they've ordered one at the conclusion of the drive.
that's cool. I've had somebody who was on the edge, and they're like, "Oh man, this cost me a lot of money." I was like, "Well, good." It's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, I mean, I've had the complete same experience, and it's funny where you talk to kind of some of these people who are using beta every day, and they'll kind of complain about this or that, but it's like so refreshing to just show somebody who has never seen it and doesn't know it exists, because they're just like, oh my god, my mind is blown. Like literally someone said that to me. Someone was like doing some work on my car. I was like, hey, you want to see the software the car's running? It can drive itself. And it did like a zero disengagement drive to target around the block and back. And the guy's like, oh my god, my mind is blown. I had no idea that it was possible for a car to do this. And some people just get so excited. Like, definitely I would encourage everyone, once you get the hang of FSD beta, like, show it to people, because it'll convert them to Tesla, it'll convert them to electric vehicles, and it'll convert them to automated vehicles, which, these are all good things that can like save your life. So
And it's really
Yes,
fun that, like, when I've taken a few people out there, like Elon Musk is like, he's like the next Ben Franklin, like, because they start to like see how his vision is going to, or is already changing the world. Because then, of course, they'll talk about rockets, and then I bring up like the Starship, and I'll show them on the screen, like it landing, and it's really fun. It's fun and exciting, and it's neat to see other people who are busy with their lives, who aren't as nerdy as I am with it, but to see them get excited is really fun.
I cheat when I take people for test drives. I make sure I press the gas pedal and kind of smooth out the rough edges,
Yeah.
make it a little bit.
The other thing is there will be the Hertz effect, and certainly people order a car after your test drive, but I think a lot of them after a rental, they had a good experience, are going to get on the app and order a car.
I can't wait for Hertz. I've been spending way too much money trying to rent off Turo every time I travel.
Hey, I've got a tidbit with regards to the Cybertruck. The steel supplier, Steel Dynamics, has completed their $1.7 billion steel plant as of this past summer, and they are beginning their hot roll steel operation this month. So this is the plant that's in Sinton, Texas, basically equidistant between Boca Chica and Austin. So supplying steel both for Starships and for Cybertruck.
That's good
That's
news.
the 130 miles away, straight down a highway, super quick, right?
Pretty much.
That factory.
They're just going to use Starhopper to ship the steel back and forth.
Did you say hot rolled steel?
Yeah, it says hot rolled on their presentation deck.
That's the same company that supplies for SpaceX too, or
Correct. So they're doing the formulation that has the, I guess, the Tesla SpaceX specification of 30X stainless steel.
sweet. That's a good update.
I thought it was going to be cold rolled. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know the whole process, but irregardless, the plant has been completed, and they'll be pumping out the steel this month.
Hopefully, we get some body and white photos of the Cybertruck soon.
Hey, does anybody confirm? Did they stop the rollout of 10.5? I know Tesla was saying that they thought they had stopped the rollout based on some reported bugs. Is that, anybody know what the update on that is?
It's
They
going out
just
again now.
they just restarted a few hundred cars. Got it.
Same version, or like is it patched at all? Or
Same version, same hash.
I know Brandon had reported that he had some weird glitches, but he seemed really happy today on here. So did those get resolved, or?
His issues got resolved. With updates, sometimes people have reported that if you drive it straight after, it's still, I guess, understanding the new update, so it can be buggy when you first drive it. So most people let it sit for like an hour or two and then go for a drive with an update. But Brandon let it sit. It did a steering wheel reboot, and he didn't have any more issues.
Cool.
What's people's opinions on Chinese EVs, the Xpengs, Neos, and BYD?
Great technology. The build quality is pretty good. They're definitely going to be I mean, they are the largest EV market in the world, and so they're definitely the ones to look.
Do you think they'll have good inroads in the U.S.?
Only certain models, because some of them aren't compliant to North American safety standards.
Question about submitting feedback with FSD Beta. Are all of y'all or a majority of y'all doing like the emails every time you do a drive, or are you just doing the snapshots? And yeah, so I don't know. What do y'all think?
Well, it's really up to you. You know, they're not going to get mad at you for really sharing as much as you want to share over email if you have the time. And they do read them, even though they don't always respond. You know, they don't have time to respond to everybody. These emails actually go to the development team. Okay. So you literally, if you want to email Ashok and Andre and everybody and tell them what you're thinking, this goes straight to their inbox. So, you know, if there's something that needs explanation, then you may want to write an email if it's important. If it's something that's like an obvious little thing, like let's say, for example, you're driving down the street and someone's grandma runs into the road and, you know, stops in front of your car and your car's about to run grandma over and you hit the brake and then you hit the snapshot button, right? You probably don't need to write an email and say, hey, yeah, you know, it was about to run over grandma, because they can see from the clip what was happening, right? They have a lot of data from your car, so it's kind of self-evident. But if there's a little more about it, like, you know, for example, hey, you know, you may not know this, but I'm in Florida, and here in Florida, people sometimes, you know, will not drive in this lane because, you know, there's some kind of construction or something like that, right? Something specific to your area they need to explain, then, you know, you can write them an email. Or if there's like something you're kind of confused about or something, sometimes they'll reply back with some feedback. But yeah, you don't have to write an email for everyone. The snapshot button is usually fine. And
Oh, looks like we lost him.
I wish it was just like built into the app. It's like I hope that they're thinking about this and maybe it'll come in a future update, but I just think it would be way more efficient, like for everyone, if just maybe like at the end of your drive you could check your app and you could see all the snapshots you took, and then you could just like tag it and, you know, and I think that would be way better. Like maybe they have something already, like when we send an email that like does a, I'm sure they have some like machine learning that does word searches and looks at all that stuff, but like it would be game changing if it was all through the app and you could just tag, this is what happened and whatever. So
Yeah, or maybe even like an audio. I know back in the day, like we used to do like just, you could press, you probably still can, but you could press on the microphone and say report bug and tell them the bug, and maybe something like that to quickly be able to explain the situation if it's particularly weird situation like they were saying earlier, where you can just quickly do an audio note on that clip.
yeah, I just don't have the patience. Like one time I tried and I like did it on my Apple Watch and I was like, "Hey Siri," and I said add a note, and I listed out everything, and then I look at my watch and said, "I can't do that here." I'm like, "Oh, damn it." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Now I forgot all that timestamp and everything, and so I just gave up. But apparently I think you just have to do notes from the phone and not from the watch because the watch doesn't have a built-in notes app or something, but
So what's up with this
I
email
wonder.
thing? Because I never got an email. Do they tell us in the email that's sent out that we can respond via email? Because I don't know anything about that.
yeah,
Yeah, you should.
the very first time you join the thing, you get that FSD beta email, but
Yeah, I
when you
just never
reply to
got
that,
that for some reason.
yeah, I think it's just what FSD Beta at Tesla.com or something.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, it might
Is
have
that
gotten stuck in your spam or something.
Yeah, I tried that. I don't know. Okay, I appreciate it.
You get it very differently. I got it for 10.3, 10.31, 10.4.
yeah? I never got an email for 10.4.
No, I just got for the 10.3 and 10.3.1 for some reason
It's the
twice.
same email, they just changed the version number, at least for me.
But that's helpful
So
because
what's
I didn't know what the best way to provide feedback would be, because I don't know if like do they get feedback if we don't push any button? Do they like
I mean,
is
it's
I think
any
they
mostly for
get feedback for like
disengagements. Yeah.
hard braking or things where you had to like force it out. But just
okay?
I'm pretty sure that pushing up on the gear stock doesn't like trigger anything, but something where you had to like emergency intervene, I think gets sent to them.
Well, I was wondering about that because I have a lot of like streets without center lanes, and it drives like I swear left of center. And I'm
Yeah.
just like
Yes.
so embarrassed when people are coming at me. I'm like, it's gonna pull over, and it does. And the person looks at me sometimes, and I'm like,
It kind
okay,
of does very last minute though. A
it
lot of the
does. It
times.
does not give them. It's not like a human. Like, hey, let them know. Let them know. Kind of. Okay. Yeah.
Has it always been that and I'm like I run into that usually on wider residential streets. Has it always done that for people who've been on the beta longer, or is that just like a regression on 10.3, or has it always kind of
Well,
hugged the
it
center?
hasn't really changed. So, it's funny. I've heard a lot of new beta testers mentioning this, especially people who are in I think other parts of the country. Weirdly, it's like never really been a problem for me. I don't know if it's kind of like over optimized for California or something like that, but it. I mean, it does kind of like tend to stay more towards the middle when there's no
Yeah,
lane
but this is
markings, and
glaring. I mean,
then
because
sometimes kind of.
yeah, because I've seen a lot of the videos on the people who are doing the videos on YouTube, and I haven't seen that even obviously in California, but there's people YouTubers that are doing it outside of California. I'm in the Austin area, and it's just everywhere. It just gets just it almost just picks the exact center or even to the left of center. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I
people
mean,
I
I
gave
haven't.
rides to noticed it too, and they were uncomfortable. So that was one thing I was hoping to change with 10.5, but
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to whether it's changed with 10.5. Like I said, it's kind of like here, at least where I'm in my area, it's kind of doing the right thing. Like it's definitely not driving on the left side of the road. It's maybe driving a little bit less right than I would have when there's no cars there. But then when, there's a car, it immediately kind of gets over and there's no problem of you know, it colliding or something. I also think maybe another reason in California why this is less of an issue is there's usually people all over the place, right? So
yeah, that's a
when
good point.
when there's people on the road, then it's obviously on the right side. So, I mean, you know, like obviously these are, you know, really annoying issues if you're, you know, in kind of an empty road and it's kind of driving in the wrong place and then people come. But really, it's kind of a like small issue in the grand scheme of things when you look at like this whole software. Like, you know, obviously at some point they're going to make it move more to the right. And like,
Yeah,
this
of
is a
course.
great
Yeah.
example of something that you can just email them about and like explain, you know, your frustration about it because they may not realize it. So, you know, that's a great time to like use the email. But an important thing for people to remember is like they're getting everything. Okay. Like every piece of data produced by your car, they're going to get it. So you don't necessarily have to email them um, and like bombard their inbox or whatever, but they'll get everything you need to see, and you can snapshot to like point things out to them. And in addition to that, you can email them if it requires, you know, kind of additional explanation beyond that. But don't
Yeah.
worry about it too much. Just use it like.
Oh no, yeah, yeah. It's interesting though, but like, I think it's mostly for me. It's been on the where it's residential roads that are wider than normal. Like if it's a more narrow, or I guess narrower road, it seems to do okay. So it's kind of like these wider roads.
That makes sense.
It
I mean,
just can't, for some reason, can't figure it out. There's no cars on the side. It's just like, just kind of like there's plenty of space to be just more towards the right hand side.
I figure they
So it's
know
just a path
about it,
planning.
and yeah, I figure like they know about it, and it will be like adapted as time goes on. So I see a lot of these things that are like maybe I'm being a little picky, or like I'd prefer it a little bit more this way, or but I figure like they're incrementally taking steps to get it to where it should
Well, and
be.
they got to prioritize, right? So obviously, cutting in or unprotected less are probably more of a concern than whether it's slightly to the left, especially if it's doing it safely. It's just not comfortable,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
especially when you have a car coming and they're like, "What the heck's this guy doing?"
So my experience with that um, is actually kind of unsafe. Like I definitely agree the car stays in the middle and it's like dumb when there's another car coming, but it'll do it all the way up to like an intersection, and like it can't see the cars coming from the left, and it'll be like in the center, and then it starts to do the thing where it needs to like see, so it creeps forward and it goes left more. So it's like angled at the
Yes, yeah,
left
I've noticed
front
that.
corner of the intersection. And any car that
Yeah, I've
wanted to
had
turn
that.
right is gonna like run into you. So you have to take over every time.
And it's still amazing though. Even when it
Yeah, I've
does
had
that, it's
that.
still
Right.
amazing what it's doing. So I like, I give it a lot of leeway, and I'm like, this is still awesome. And these are things I know, I know they know about, and they'll be working on.
Yeah.
well, I
Yeah,
mean,
they don't seem particularly difficult to fix either, right? It's just like, hey, once they get to that priority, it's just like, hey, let's just shift that algorithm to be like 10 inches more to the right or
yeah,
something, right?
yeah. You know, I mean, I definitely don't think people are being picky by wanting it to drive on the right side of the road. Like, this is pretty basic kind of functionality. Um, and like, obviously, we do want it to drive on the right side of the road and not kind of get over too late. I mean, really, that's the only thing is it is getting over, but it's just not getting over as early or the same way a human would. So, you know, this is definitely something that they need to work on. But I mean, just to help people understand it, like, you know, one man's like pain in the ass is like a non-issue for another person, right? Because there's so much variability in the world. Like, we all live in different neighborhoods. We all live in different cities. They set up the roads differently, the characteristics, the population density. There are so many differences. The kind of people that are walking around, how they walk around, how slow or fast they walk. Like, there's just differences on differences on differences. So, like, and I've heard so many people mention, you mentioned this thing about driving in the center of the road. And it's so funny because I've been using the software all year, and I never, you know, if you asked me to come up with, you know, a list of 10 problems, you know, I never would have maybe even put that on like my top you know, 50 problems or something.
That's interesting.
And
that's funny.
and so, you
But
know,
I have, but I haven't seen it like on most people who are videotaping it on YouTube. I haven't really observed that issue. So it might be something that hasn't been seen by some people. Now that it's expanded, more people are running into it.
yeah, I mean, I think it really just has to do with that different part of the country, right? Like, so most parts of the country, I think, have this situation where it's like kind of an unmarked road without lanes, and it's kind of mostly an empty road, but then there is a car, and sometimes that car is even coming at a high speed. So I can, you know, it's kind of like a stressful situation in that way. So, you know, it's really just one of a million items on the to-do list. So, like, if this is something that's bothering you in your area, like FSD Beta at Tesla.com, hey, you know, the car's driving in the middle of the road, or it's even driving on the left side of the road. I went ahead and I hit the snapshot button on Tuesday at 4 o'clock at a time when this happened and a car came and it didn't get over soon enough. I would really appreciate if you guys could put some attention into this issue and, you know, resolve it, because it would make me feel a lot better. And, you know, you can just keep bugging them if you want, if there's like a pet issue that's really bothering you. Like, this is what this is all about. Like, we're beta testing this, we're helping to get that software good, so all the people who use it in the future are like, oh my god, this just works great, it's driving on the right side of the road. And yeah, so, you know, there's going to be like a million things like this issue will get fixed, and then there'll be something else that annoys us. So, you know, just share that feedback, use the snapshot button, and then one day it'll be fixed and you'll be like, oh my god, fuck yeah.
Along those same lines, conceptually or theoretically, do you foresee them ever doing or taking shortcuts of like geocaching, kind of like those kind of informations that are like hyper specific to a region or a location?
I think they have to. At some, you know, for some exceptional situations. I don't know how you solve it.
You know, I'm also thinking of like unprotected left turns. If like if the data supports always like doing a right hand turn, so like you do 3 rights to make a left or something like that, or like along those lines of like taking
Well, I
shortcuts to
think
get FSD here sooner.
Oh, it's so sort of like what was it Cruise was doing, where they only do the right turns, or
Yeah.
I definitely think they can, you know, if a human can do it, then like the car should be able. So you're just saying,
Well,
while we're waiting for that,
yeah, it's a
do like
two-pronged
the,
thing.
you know, like the workaround.
Yeah, if it's safer to always make a right hand turn, if the data supports that, they actually should be probably should be doing that. It might be take longer for your trip, but if that's the safest optimal thing you should do, then you would think the date or the car would learn that.
Well, the car will be able to make both right and left turns for sure. But I get what you're hinting at, which is like there are a lot of shortcuts they can do to make it look better faster. So, one really important thing they're going to start doing is putting all the disengagements in a database, and they'll know every single road where all the disengagements are, because, you know, people are driving and they go, okay, well, this is the rate of disengagements we see on this road. We see a lot of disengagements for pedestrians and stuff like that. So one thing it'll be able to do is choose an easy route instead of just the fastest route. You can choose a low disengagement route, or you could choose the fastest route. That'll probably be one thing. Another thing is like drive more cautiously when it's driverless. So maybe at first when it's driverless, it's super limited. So maybe it can only go 30 miles an hour. Maybe it won't make left turns. Maybe it'll only make right turns when there's no human in the car. And then when the human's supervising, it can then make the left turn and take the faster route because it knows there's someone, you know, there behind the controls. So there's like kind of some of those shortcuts that you could possibly do to help kind of move things forward and make it seem better. So, you know, we'll see what they do in the future.
Hey
Question is if
Omar.
it's worth the shortcut
Oh,
or not,
sorry.
right? They might, you know, if they might be exponentially increasing so much that it's just not worth. I mean, like look at radar. Radar was a shortcut
Hmm.
for a while, but eventually, like just getting rid of it just improved things quite a bit, and at least in some situations,
Yeah,
others not. But
totally.
Hey Omar,
Yeah,
you
I
you've
just
you've shared a lot of like kind of specific, um, I guess, ideas or ways they may deal with things. Do you have like a connection or like with people who work there, or like are you just, or do you work in that industry so you have some insights? Or I was just curious.
Well, yeah, I mean, I work in software. I've worked in software my whole life, so that was kind of the angle I came at with is just, getting a Tesla in 2018. I reserved a Model 3 and just looking at the software. And I mean, it's really interesting as an entrepreneur. Like every decade has this new wave of technology, right? Since the microchip was invented, the microprocessor, every decade has had these groundbreaking innovations that has changed everything about the way we live. For example, the personal computer in the 80s, right? Suddenly you can run Excel. You're not doing a bunch of math on a piece of paper and you mess up the numbers and you order the wrong thing and the cake turns out shitty or whatever you're trying to do. Now you've got a spreadsheet. Oh my God, I can build this financial model and boom, update the number. The computer just calculates everything instantly. So that was a revolution. That changed everything. That affected every business. And then in the decade after that, you really had the World Wide Web in the 90s. And we all know the World Wide Web changed everything. It created an entirely new class of businesses. Every business was affected by the World Wide Web. Try and think of one business that wasn't affected by the web. There was none, right? Every business has a website at least. Then in the decade after that, we had, you know, like mobile phones, right? And you saw the iPhone, you saw smartphones, cellular networking, and taking a lot of those innovations in the web and moving them into our pockets. And similarly, now we've got a decade of AI and automation and deep learning really profoundly changing things. You look at GPT-3, you look at AlphaGo, you look at all this stuff. And I think for the entrepreneur and all of us, like, I think a lot of us are like business people or entrepreneurs or just like to kind of, you know, interested in some side gigs or whatever. There's a ton of opportunities that autonomy is going to present. It's going to, it's going to change the world, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people to make money and for new businesses to emerge, for things to change. A lot of old incumbent businesses that are going to be disrupted by this technology. So I think that people who are like following it closely are going to come out ahead over people who are ignorant of what's happening. And it's really kind of interesting to think about from that perspective. So that's kind of like why I spend so much time thinking about it and like looking at all these other companies and everything, because I think, when it arrives, there's a lot of kind of products and services you would want to build on top of it.
oh, sweet, 10.8.8, right? That's the software.
Hmm.
I think I just got it.
Oh, really? Wait, who got it?
3688. I just got it.
Oh,
On both
Yeah,
nice.
my
I just
cars.
got it too. Nice.
Yay.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. It looks like a big
Yeah,
wave went out.
huge wave coming.
So yeah, I'm in Utah here, so I don't know if anyone else is, but sweet.
Omar,
So
Awesome.
any
So
like,
news if
you're
the 98s are getting it?
no,
I don't
I
think
had it.
so.
Well, I
Not yet.
used to be 98, but I had 99.
I used to be 98.
I drove.
A
I
hard
went
reset.
drove like 200 miles around Austin to get 99. So
Question for
Y'all,
the room.
I just got it, and I'm really excited. Got my
Yes.
yeah.
Wait, you had it before, right?
who me?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I had it before. But yeah,
Yeah, I just got an update on it. I also had a 500
literally.
server
I just
error
got it as
a
well.
while ago, but
New York here just
sitting here charging up, so I'll be testing it out.
I just opened the
Omar,
app
you
and
said you
it's
tried it and
I'm
Exciting.
it
All
didn't
right,
really.
guys.
I'm so stoked
Really
about
happy
it
for.
because I'm giving my sister-in-law and my brother their first ever look at FSD Beta, and I'm just so stoked to have a fresh version to demo
Oh yeah,
to
this is going
them
to
for
be a
the
good
first time.
version to demo probably, and yeah, just don't try not to scare them.
For sure. And I'm going to do that tip that someone else said to use the accelerator to help nudge her on when it's checking for visibility.
Yeah, the accelerator's your friend. The turn signals are your friend for sure if you want to like actually get it to drive reasonably. And there's nothing wrong with using them. I use them a lot when I'm driving, unless I'm making a video because people don't want to see it for some reason.
When you say that,
Um,
are you meaning just like to get in a better lane or to cancel a lane change, or what do you mean?
just to get it to do whatever I want to do. Like, yeah, if I don't want it to drive in that lane, there could be no reason at all why I don't want it to drive in that lane. Could just be my personal preference, but use the blinker, get it to go where you want. If it's, going too slow or it's hesitating too much or something, use the accelerator, adjust the speed if it's, you'd rather go faster or slower. Like, this isn't autonomy. This is an AI assistant for your driving. So you're just giving it instructions and it's executing them. That's kind of like the way I like to think about it.
I wish you could turn on the blinker to have it take a turn.
That would be nice. I think they should add that. You're right. It would be cool. I like how you can kind of put it on without a destination and have it just kind of drive straight. So
Yeah. Like I
that.
the directions to my house are always wrong, so it's like I have to turn off autopilot just to take an earlier turn, but if I could
Mhm.
just tell it the right path.
Yeah, that would.
Somebody was asking earlier, like, how would you do it if it's in robotaxi mode? How would you interact with the phone? I think it would just be like audio, right? You say, "Hey, take the next right" or something. That
Yeah,
would be
that's what I
cool.
was
Yeah.
thinking of.
There would definitely
Audio
need to be an
based.
audio interface because you would want to understand what the robo-taxi passengers are saying. So you'd have to be able to interpret voice commands and execute on them reliably.
But yeah, you would want something low latency too. Like if it was like a dangerous situation, speech might
Oh
be
yeah,
too
yeah.
slow to.
Well, you could probably do the inference on board, like the iPhone now does inference on board for speech recognition, and there's been a lot of work done on like compressing these models. They used to have to. They were like so big they had to run on a server before. Now you can really like run them on your local device. So that's definitely something I think they can do in the future. Um, yeah, like if someone's screaming instantly, like "Hey, stop!" The car should be able to understand that and respond to what they're saying.
Have y'all noticed
I
that
have to make
certain
sure my kids don't say,
notifications?
"Hey, stop" randomly if they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's very tricky. You know, you have to know the difference
Yeah.
between like
It's
the passengers talking to each other and like it talking to you or that kind of thing. So I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of far off in the future.
Dude, they need to add a cabin camera to the Sentry mode viewer. That'll be cool.
Yeah, true. All right, guys. It's been almost 3 hours in this room, and unfortunately, Clubhouse doesn't let us save it if it's too long. So I'm happy for
We
everyone
all
who
have to
got
go test
10.5.
out the beta anyways, right?
Yeah, exactly. So everyone go test out the beta. We'll reconvene later and talk about how it went. So yeah, thanks everybody who came and joined us and like shared your thoughts and helped in this discussion. And yeah, really excited for everyone who's got the beta and is going to try it. Go, test carefully. Anybody got any last words for the room?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks,
Yep.
Omar.
Don't lend your car to any CNN reporter, please, guys. Don't do
Yeah,
it.
thanks everybody for joining. And I'll see you guys around. Safe beta testing, everyone.
Thank you, Omar.
Thanks. See ya.
All
Good
right,
night.
take care, everyone. Bye.
see you guys.